right, everyone, welcome into episode 133 here of Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. I'm Nick Hill, as always, from Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States. And hey, wait, I'm not by myself.
Hi, everybody.
I'm not by myself. We have Jason Wyrick here in Chattanooga tonight.
Yeah, hello from Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States.
The third episode of the show where there's two or more of us in the same location.
Oh, and I'm here in Americana. It's funny, tonight is opening night of our rodeo, which is a little bit famous in Sao Paulo in Brazil, but I'm not a big rodeo guy, so I'm here happy on this Friday night talking sports from both Brazil and United States of America.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of sports going on tonight in the United States of America. We have actually two games here that we are monitoring, one here on the laptop and one on the television screen. We're monitoring the Indiana Fever and Washington Mystics. Big of course, he's a fan of all things Indianapolis here. Fever up by 2 in the middle of the third quarter. And then we're watching some baseball here where we could have a big upset brewing. We have West Virginia, the Mountaineers, up by a run, 6-5 in the top of the ninth on the fourth. Overall national seed, the North Carolina Tar Heels. But as always, when it comes to college baseball, we got to start with the Tennessee Baseballs. And of course, they advanced to the Supers with relative ease. I mean, they outscored everyone in the regional 33-12. They mowed down Northern Kentucky, Indiana, and Southern Miss with, if a breeze to say. And then through a complete shock, we've ended up with the Evansville Purple Aces in the Super Regionals after they pulled off a stunner in Greenville, North Carolina against the East Carolina Pirates. So game one has already occurred today, and the Vols did take care of business. Did win 11-6, and honestly, maybe not the prettiest game in the world. You got to give credit to Evansville. They are hot right now. They can hit the ball very well. But Tennessee was able to outpower them today. Jason, I know you got to watch a lot of it. Just kind of what was your takeaway on what we saw in game one today?
Well, my prediction for the game originally, and this was during the week, I anticipated this was what was going to happen. I actually wanted Tennessee to face East Carolina because East Carolina is good and the Vols can overpower good. However, Evansville is scorching hot. They have a bunch of seniors that play smart baseball, so they're not going to give you anything, and they're going to capitalize on your mistakes. And they're also playing with the confidence of, yeah, we're on house money. What do we have to lose? That's a dangerous combination. And so I was a little nervous going into this game. But my prediction for the game was, okay, Evansville's going to come out and throw a punch. How is Tennessee going to respond? Because 2 years ago, the 2022 team, which is probably the most talented team in the history of the program, got overmatched by a team that just took care of business. They were in their emotions and not playing with emotion, but in them. And so with this team, they are a much more business-oriented team, and they go in, all right, stoic. They're going to have a little bit of fun, but they're going to take care of business first. And I expected to see that today, and I did. Evansville came out, hit the home run to take the 2-1 lead in the second inning, knocked Stamos out of the game. And then Tennessee came right back, took the lead back. And I thought, okay, we got this. And Evansville was able to hang in for a while. And then eventually Tennessee blew the game open behind A.J. Causey's excellent performance out of the bullpen. And it's just a lot of what I expected. This team has the pitching, the defense, and the bats to beat you. But most importantly, they have the mentality of, okay, if you hit me, I'll hit you back, and I'm going to hit you back harder. And so I think this is firmly playing into Tennessee's hands for the next 2 days. But quite frankly, guys, I don't think it's going to go to Sunday. I think it's going to be over about 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah. Gustavo, did you get to see the game?
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have not. I was very busy. It was preseason game day for me, so I was kind of like involved with a lot of stuff But from what I can tell, I mean, we mentioned last week about this kind of stage where the ball is gonna get in at the super regionals at home, and where they have to really show at game one how they're gonna respond to being favorite. And like Jason said, they took care of business. They show why they were the number one seed, why they are the SEC regular and championship champions.
Don't tell Kentucky fans that we were the regular season champion.
No, really. Should I go to Lexington and rent like one of those cars where you can like have a microphone and say put Rocky Top and say as baseball's SEC regular champions?
We should totally do that. They got their hands full this weekend. Of course, I want to go through the rest of the bracket here in a minute, but on the Vols themselves, I think the thing that stood out to me is, as you said, the Evansville did have some surges, particularly thinking like the fifth inning, right? They had scored 3 runs and they made it a 5-5 game, but we didn't flinch a bit. We just came right back and
AJ Causey weathered that storm very, very well. You could tell that he was an experienced pitcher.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. Every pitcher here that we have on our roster right now that's getting significant playing time is experienced. Now, if we, assuming we take care of business to this weekend, I don't know if I want Chris Stamos starting another game, because to me, he had a great first inning right today, but he got shelled in that second inning, was terrible last week in the first inning. I don't against you can come back against Northern Kentucky and Evansville, right? But like if we get to Omaha and you're playing, some of the other best teams in the country, I don't want him in that top spot, because Causey has proven in both this week and last week that he has performed at a far higher level.
I want to agree with you, but at the same time, I think Stamos going in and pitching one inning and just being relieved by Causey, not the worst thing in the world. I don't hate him starting, but like you said, the inconsistency worries you, and when you go to Omaha, that's something that you want to prevent, is inconsistency. So on one hand, I agree with you, but on the other hand, I think, okay, he's still got a role. But I tend to agree with you. I think that he is probably better served coming out of the bullpen in just a low leverage situation. Just needs to bridge from one guy to the next. And with that said, you could just throw Causey out there as the starter, even if he's not going to go the distance. Yeah, you want to get him a decision, because he's throwing a bunch of innings. But that doesn't matter. You just want to win in Omaha, and he'll be the first to tell you, I don't care if I get the win as long as Tennessee gets this win.
Right. And, we were watching the ninth inning when you got into town, and it was interesting.
When I got into town, when you got out of work, sir.
Right. So it was interesting because we were watching the end where Evansville got some hits together, and North Carolina has just scored a home run, by the way. So it's now a tied game in Chapel Hill. So 6-6, the bottom of the ninth, and they have no outs. So
West Virginia's pitcher has almost gone the distance. He's at 134 pitches, and you got to think he's getting taken out of this game. He has to.
This is crazy. Like they must have no bullpen if they are letting him stay in this long.
They probably got decimated in the regional.
I mean, I think he's being out there for that long because, as you guys said, they have nothing to lose. So he's probably thinking, if this is my last game I'm pitching in the season, I have to give my all.
He's emptying the tank, which I respect. But at some point, the head coach of West Virginia needs to protect him from himself and look out for him. But I mean, these guys know their bodies at this point. They're Division I athletes. They know, he knows that he can go. It reminds me almost of a couple years ago, and I know we'll get into Arkansas here in a moment, but Kevin Kopps, the closer from Arkansas, came out and threw like 7 shutout innings when he had only closed for the entire season, and he was ready for it. He hadn't been stretched out at all over the season, but he was ready to come in and do that.
Right.
And to be honest, I think that's something you could do with AJ Causey at Tennessee. You can stretch him as long as he plays efficiently. If you tell him to go out there, and especially in the bottom half of the order, and say, hey, just pitch to contact, don't try to strike everybody out, save your good stuff for the top half of the order, you can probably get away with stretching him a little longer.
True. But circling back to what I was wanting to ask about. So there was a moment there where the late bases were loaded. Evansville was still down by 5, which ended up being the final. And Kirby Connell gets taken out for AJ Combs. And you disagreed with the decision at the time.
I did.
And it ended up working out. But
yeah, as long as you get the win,
right.
Whatever. But
right.
I did. I disagreed. I thought that was not the correct decision. I trust Tony Vitello. He's a terrific coach. But I disagreed with that. And the reason being is Kirby Connell is as experienced as you can get. He is as trusted as you can get. And he is somebody that can go in and weather that storm. You send him out there in the 9th inning with a 5-run cushion. You're up 11-5. You have 5 runs to play with before you really start having to buckle down. You have 5 runs to play with. Get me 3 outs. I don't care that the bases are loaded. Kirby Connell can roll 2 and then get a pop out.
Right.
And you may give up 3 runs, but you're not going to give up 5, and especially not 6. And I think Kirby Connell was the most well prepared to handle that situation. But give credit where it's due. The game still ended up being a win, and that's all that matters. And the other side of that argument, especially in retrospect now, knowing that it didn't affect the outcome of the game and the Vols still got the win, I think Tony Vitello's thought process is, okay, Combs has not been seen yet. They don't have anything on him. He'll be able to go and get a couple quick outs, which turned out to be true. And then you also saved Kirby Connell a couple of pitches, meaning that, he might be able to come back tomorrow if necessary, or Sunday if necessary. You don't run him into the ground and make it so that he's burned for the weekend. So there's definitely pros and cons, but in that moment, when you have such a high leverage situation as a coach, the first thing I think is get this win. We'll worry about tomorrow. And Kirby Connell, in my opinion, was the best suited for that situation because of the experience and the stuff that he brings. But with that said, it all worked out. We may see Kirby again this weekend if necessary.
Right. And I will say there were, I think, some defensive lapses too, especially there in the middle of the game. But, I mean, obviously the team bowed up, and obviously offensively they were stout as always. I mean, there's just so many guys on this lineup that can hit it out of the yard. I mean, I think out of the 4 great teams Vitello's had, and granted 2020 I think would have been a great team, but we never got to see that team actually,
I'm not even mad about that. I'm mad about Louisville's 2020 team. Mm-hmm. You think the 2 pitchers right now, major league rotations, third pitcher was a major league draft pick. The catcher, number 1 overall pick of the Pittsburgh Pirates. You can't tell me that the Louisville Cardinals weren't winning the College World Series in 2020. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it's 2020. We definitely lost a lot by not getting to see how baseball would have turned out. But definitely since then, Tennessee baseball has been on a roll, and I agree with Jason. I think we'll finish it off tomorrow, Gus.
Yeah, I think tomorrow Lindsey Nelson State will be again rocking it. And, I think Tennessee will take care of it. Just a quick update. I know we're talking American sports, but right now Santos playing at Serie B, second division, losing again 1-0. Losing 1-0 to Novo Horizontino. And I know I'm going to get deep when they're on the Brazilian topic, but things doesn't look good in one of the top 4 teams in the state of Sao Paulo, the Pele's team. But just a quick update here.
So, quick question for you, Gus, regarding Santos. Are they going to be relying on Neymar to stay healthy to get back to greatness?
That's I want to. It's a big discussion. I just don't want to take the focus out of our American sports, but that's something a lot of
people. We can get into it later. I was just curious.
No, yeah.
I know the rumor is
a quick answer is it's a possibility, especially in terms of how wealthy his family is and how involved in the area they are, and how Neymar's dad already owns the team. So there's a lot of factors that contribute to that scenario that you brought up.
It's just a just a fun thought to have. I know that Thiago Silva's going home. I know the rumor has been that Neymar is going to follow as well. So we'll dive into that when we talk Brazilian sports. I was just curious your thought on that before I forgot.
Oh,
And
no,
the
yeah.
American sports update is the West Virginia pitcher was removed after 144 pitches. And he left one on and one out in the bottom of the ninth. Very entertaining.
And the Fever up by 4 points right now. So.
Let's go. Even though the Fever are playing the Washington Mystics and my personal friend Maisha Hines-Allen, shout out to Maisha, you're the best. She's playing for the Mystics, and it pains me to root against her because she's the best. I love her. She just got her an and one. Good friend of mine from Louisville. She invited me to her draft party. How nice is that?
Did you go?
Oh yeah, I was there.
Oh,
I celebrated.
Well, what pick did you get drafted?
She was like 12th or 13th overall by the Washington Mystics. But anyway, Fever up. I'm still rooting for the Fever, but rooting for Maisha to do well.
Yeah, and of course the Fever will be a big point of a topic a little bit later on in the show. Maybe for
I got a lot to say.
Maybe not all for all the basketball reasons, to say the least. All right, but there's some other baseball things I do want to get to here. Some of Tennessee baseball's favorite fan bases over the past couple of years had maybe not the most stellar tournaments, to say the least. Let's start with our favorite people out in Fayetteville, Arkansas, the Razorbacks. The guys who say that Tennessee doesn't play baseball the right way. They, as you can imagine by the laughing here, they were eliminated by something called Southeastern Missouri State, whose ballpark is in a public park. It has like 1,000 seats. Meanwhile, Arkansas claims they are like the best program in all of America, but they still have. But just don't ask them how many national championships that they have.
Listen, Arkansas hasn't been relevant in any sport since Brandon Burlsworth tripped the quarterback and Tennessee won the championship.
True.
R.I.P. Brandon Burlsworth.
Right.
Do they have still nightmares about the fateful night in Neyland? Do you guys?
I think so. Yeah.
And I think that's where the jealousy with Tony Vitello comes from, because their fans have finally turned on Dave Van Horn. They have realized he is a fraud and he's a choke, and never wins in the postseason. Ever since they failed to catch that foul ball against Oregon State in 2018, it has been one season of misery after misery, and now they have to watch their former assistant be better than them on a year-to-year basis. And what's crazy to me is that Arkansas statistically had the best pitching staff in the country heading into this tournament, and they got rocked by Southeastern Missouri. But really, what failed them is their offense was just terrible. They had no offense. Freaking Arkansas had no offense in this tournament and got eliminated by Southeast Missouri as a result.
And this is what happens when you play not with emotion, but in your emotions. You get too low when you have a bad inning and don't come back and just take care of business in the next one. And then it snowballs, and that's how you get eliminated. That's what Tony Vitello was trying to eliminate with this Tennessee team, especially in comparison to the 2022 team. And all those points apply to Arkansas as well. They're playing in their emotions, and you just can't do that.
Now, what's funny is Arkansas fans, they've been begging several of them have been begging their athletic department to maybe take a run at the guy in Knoxville. See how much money you can throw at Tony Vitello. I don't think Tony V would want any part of Fayetteville. I think he is perfectly happy in Knoxville.
I think Knoxville and the Vol brand fits his personality to a T.
Right.
Literally a T.
I don't know why he would leave to go back to Fayetteville. And Arkansas is not going to fire Dave Van Horn, obviously.
No, they shouldn't. I don't care what failures you have in the postseason. You take stability for granted, and that's what they've got. It's the same thing I said about John Calipari and Kentucky fans. They ran off a coach that had them stably in the top 25 every year. That's important. You can fall off really quick. Just ask any Louisville fan. It hurts.
Yeah, and that's the thing right now with Rick Barnes in Tennessee. I know we haven't made a Final Four, but this is the greatest run of Tennessee basketball in the history of our program that we're on right now. So, and I expect us to once again be probably a top 15, 20 team again next year.
Finally see some top 15 or top 10 basketball in the Center again.
That's what I forgot to put on the liner, but I'll put that on for a little bit later. Because
we love some self-depreciation.
Yeah, because I definitely gotta ask you about that one. But also, my other favorite baseball team I love to talk about, the Vanderbilt Commodores. So once upon a time, Vanderbilt actually was really good at baseball. They won 2 national titles in the 2010s. It was their first national titles in any sport outside of women's bowling. Because remember, Vanderbilt has never had a double-digit winning season in football, ever. Look it up. Look it for the record books. They've never won more than 9 games in a single season. And also shout out to Claudio Brito. Saying
Claudio Brito.
Hi, Claudio.
Hi. He great friend of mine, but he is the guy who's the idol of União Barbarense. So he is like for Jason, he is the Kentucky like idol.
So he's Nick Stringer. Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to my other friend Nick, the Kentucky fan, who even though he played baseball at Louisville.
Okay.
Whatever.
Brito, Biggie Brito.
You like who you like. I thought about going to school at Vanderbilt, but obviously would have remained a Tennessee fan. Obviously.
Ironically enough, I almost went to Vanderbilt myself.
Most Vanderbilt students are Tennessee fans anyway. No one shows up at their games.
That's true.
But Vanderbilt had an equally embarrassing loss. They couldn't win a single game in the postseason and got eliminated by something called High Point. I think it's in North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina just walked it off into the night. There it goes. North Carolina wins game 1. He hit a missile into the Tar Heel night.
The ball went over the
on UNC.
He just pimped the hell out of that home run, too. As soon as he hit that, he knew it was gone. That was reminiscent of the Wright State walk-off, because as soon as he swung, you knew it was gone.
Well, that's the most brutal loss for West Virginia in any sport since Pittsburgh 2007. Oops.
Shout out to Pat McAfee.
Yeah. Oops. Anyway.
Man, I gotta see this. I gotta see this one more time. I gotta see this pimp job on this home run. This was incredible. Right. Gus, if you're not watching this,
no, I'm watching it. I'm watching. The ball went over like a little house. There's like outside of the stadium, like and a poor pitcher of West Virginia. His face is like he's demolished. Like you can see on the West Virginia Mountaineer players how they're devastated.
They'll get blown out tomorrow. This is it. They're not recovering.
Oh yeah, I agree. I need to see that pimp job on that home run. That bat flip was incredible.
You called this like 3 innings ago when they left those 2 on base.
Yep.
At 3.
Oh, watch this pimp job. Oh, he's gonna get hit tomorrow, isn't he?
Right.
But yeah, this is what happens when you leave runners on base. Like Nick said, I cringed when they grounded out on some piddly little. He was trying to fight the pitch off, and he hit a piddly grounder to second base, and he left 2 runners in scoring position. This right there is why you don't do that. That's how you lose. And I told Nick, that is how you lose a baseball game. Case in point.
Yep. I mean, that's just a bad loss for West Virginia. But back to another really bad loss for Vanderbilt. And so for Tim Corbin and the Commodores, I am going out on the limb and saying the dynasty is dead. And here's why. Because back before NIL...
They had a dynasty?
Well, I mean, they had 2 natties, and they were pretty...
Yeah, but Coastal Carolina had one, too. Come on.
Yeah, I made that argument last show. Because Nick said, Coastal Carolina, they're a small school. But they won a natty in college baseball. You can put on, like, another category, I'll say.
They had some success, but I don't think Vandy was ever a dynasty in baseball.
No,
I refuse to agree with that.
Like a dynasty, you have to have at least 3 consecutive titles, at least.
Okay, so basically they're Clemson.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I agree with that.
But I wouldn't say that you have to have consecutive championships. The Chicago Blackhawks won 3 Stanley Cups in 5 seasons. That's a dynasty. The New England Patriots, as much as I hate them, they won a bunch, but they didn't all win them in a row.
Right. So anyway, so maybe they're not a dynasty, but they're basically like Clemson. They're close to a dynasty, but not quite. But
And they have a coach that refuses to adapt to the times.
Exactly. They're basically Clemson football. Yeah. And because Vanderbilt used to have a built-in advantage because they were a private school and they could offer more scholarships for baseball players. That's gone with NIL. And now teams like Tennessee can outspend Vandy because we have the fans willing to pay for it. We have the alums willing to pay for it.
Got that Pilot Flying J money?
Exactly. Like every time, I think it's
Vandy's got Skip Bayless. We got Pilot Flying J. Who's the real winner?
I think
here?
like every time Christian Moore hits a home run, you can get a free like water from or free Mountain Dew from like Weigels or something crazy.
Oh, we love Weigels.
And like Carolyn Pickens, every time she like threw a strike, you got like a free, or for like 7 strikes, you got like free milk or something. Or something interesting like that. But yeah, and Vanderbilt just doesn't have that because fan interest is not there. I mean, they're not the most popular team in their own city. They may not even be the most popular team in their own neighborhood.
There are more Tennessee fans in Davidson County than there are Vanderbilt fans in existence.
Yes.
That's how you know that it's not good.
Right. And I think, long term for Vanderbilt, just in any sport, you have look at the path forward for them. How are they going to be competitive in the new SEC in any sport?
They're not.
What's the point of keeping Vanderbilt around? I mean, just because they were the OG member? Well, Swanee was an OG member, and when they're not here anymore.
Where's Tulane?
Where's Georgia Tech?
Where's Swain?
Swanee.
Yeah. Swanee. Still, like, it's crazy to me how Swanee was a SEC member. But do you think Greg Shanky is behind the scenes thinking about a way to maybe push Vandy out of the conference?
Yeah.
I have an idea for this, and this is my idea. You're always going to have some teams that are just kind of bums, so you might as well be doing something and get some TV market money with them. So here's what I propose. Greg Sankey, call up the ACC. Trade Vandy with Wake Forest. You add the North Carolina TV market. You keep the Tennessee TV market because the only team that matters in Tennessee is Tennessee. And then the ACC adds Tennessee.
I'll take that deal.
Trade doormat
it's
for
a
doormat
win-win.
to make more TV money.
Right. And Wake Forest, frankly, has been more competitive across all sports than Vandy.
Definitely. I would agree with that.
Yeah. They're a better baseball program right now. They're a better basketball program. They're a better football program.
Yeah, well, that bar is not exactly high.
Yeah.
But listen, I think trade doormat for doormat makes some TV revenue.
I mean,
I like your train of thought about trading. Like, and I didn't see anywhere in podcasts on like that. Trading programs trading universities in conferences. That should be considered. I like that thought.
And the rationale behind it, again, is TV money, but it makes sense for both schools as well. Now, it may not make sense long term, but they would get a higher percentage of money because they'd be bringing in more money. Now, like I said, long term, the ACC probably dies, but right now it makes sense. There's a lot to happen before the ACC dies.
Yeah, when the grain of rice is done, so the existence.
Right, and Vanderbilt should go the way of rice.
Yeah,
so, they're just rice, but in the SEC. So
I mean, your most famous alumni are Jay Cutler and Skip Bayless.
Right, Mr. 1.4 points per game himself.
I mean, you got David Price and Dansby Swanson, but they're the outliers.
Right. Yeah.
Mallory Pugh's husband, Dansby Swanson, might I add. Mallory
and
Pugh
World
is
Series champion Dansby Swanson as well.
Mallory Pugh is great at soccer.
Indeed. Yeah. So Arkansas and Vanderbilt, both Tennessee haters. Also, let's add LSU to the mix. They're also prime Tennessee haters. They will not be repeating their championships. Of course, they lost to the UNC team we just saw walk it off, and no really shame there. That was just an epic game. I mean, those were two really good teams. They got thrown into the same region.
And they don't have any pitching transfers from Air Force this year, so.
Right. They ran that one dude into the ground, too. God, what was his name? Gear?
I don't know.
For LSU.
Paul Skeens? That's the
No.
one I'm talking about.
No, the one that had this year,
Oh.
they ran to the ground.
I
Jake
don't know.
Jason, look what Spencer said. Interesting thought.
I do hope the ACC doesn't die, but Louisville's destination is going to be. I mean, if we can't get a bid for the Big Ten or the SEC, it's going to be the Big 12. I mean, Louisville should have been in the Big 12 10 years ago anyway, and then at the 11th hour, the ACC offered Louisville the ACC bid over Connecticut because they prioritized football, and Teddy Bridgewater had just made Louisville football relevant again for the first time in 30 years. So, I mean, it all worked out, but Louisville to the to the Big 12 is really not that far-fetched, especially considering Cincinnati's there as well. And we can bring back the keg and nails. That'll be fun.
And you have West Virginia right there.
And West Virginia as well. Bring back that rivalry. I want to bring back the backyard brawl, though. And I know they're going to, but, But shout out Spencer. Thanks for watching. Spencer watching from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Absolutely. But LSU UNC, though, epic game. Of course, UNC just won their game 1. All right, I do want to pull up the rest of the bracket here. I'm going to share.
I can put it if you guys want it.
Yeah, just go ahead and
I
share.
have it here.
Hold up here.
I have it here. Yeah, there it is. Can you guys see?
Yeah. All right. So as you see here, bottom left, we got UNC West, or we go back up to the top, I guess. So of course we got Tennessee, Evansville. I would expect Tennessee to finish it off, as we all agreed earlier. Now, if you look on the top right there in Lexington, of course you got the 2-seed Kentucky versus 15-seed Oregon State.
That's a tough matchup for Kentucky.
Yeah,
it really is.
I think that will go 3 games. I think arguably you could say Kentucky's the underdog in that series.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's not far-fetched. I think this is Kentucky's biggest series in the history of their program, because to this point, they've only made a super regional once, and they got swept by Louisville in 2017. And now this is a way better team. And now that Louisville is not exactly relevant in baseball, a lot of the local kids are going to Kentucky now. They've built themselves a pretty decent program. Oregon State, though, is a national powerhouse, not too far removed from winning a national championship in baseball. And hosting the super regional is something Kentucky has never done. I'm very intrigued to see how this one goes, but I would take Oregon State to win this series in 3 games.
What's wild is they don't even play till like 9 o'clock tomorrow night. There's a very, very good chance Tennessee is done with their super regional by the time Kentucky even starts theirs, which is, by the way, I got to complain about this. What in the world is up with this scheduling from the NCAA? This is atrocious.
I can tell you the answer. Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
It's a middle finger for the lawsuit. That's all it is. Believe me or not, I think that's what it is.
I mean, 11 a.m. for a super regional is ridiculous. I mean, you're starting us off at the same time as T-ball leagues. Like only 5-year-olds should be playing at 11 a.m.
This is beer league softball time slots. But listen, the rowdy drunk people are going to be rowdy and drunk at 6 a.m. tomorrow in Knoxville. The party won't stop.
No, they won't go to bed tonight. They'll be out.
I mean, imagine all the.
It's not a trip anymore, but
yeah.
There's some fraternities that are like really near Lindsey Nelson Stadium, so I guess they can,
that's literally all it is.
What?
First base foul territory. That's all it is. It's like 3 frat houses.
Yeah. So I would just do an all-nighter, like party, go watch, and then sleep all Saturday.
Yeah, drink, play volleyball on the sand court just outside of the first base entrance, and throw on some music and let the good times roll.
Right. And plus, too, I think also as well, let's be real, the NCAA probably looked at this match and was like, yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in Evansville here. So that's probably why we also got relegated to.
Yeah, but see, Evansville is the hottest team in the country right now. They're dangerous. That's a matchup that easily could have been. If this was the 2022 baseballs, this would be in prime time because we'd be losing game 1.
Right. And also, Virginia just hit a 3-run bomb as well to take a 7-4 lead.
Come on
K-State. So
I'm so mad. I hate every other ACC school. I hate all of them.
Right. All right. Gus, if you can scroll down, we look at the rest of the bracket here. So,
well, who are you guys taking? Oregon State or Kentucky?
I'm going to take Oregon State. I think Oregon State will pull it off.
Honest to God, I do too. And it's just because they've been there before. Kentucky has never been there before. And Oregon State has. Their kids are battle tested, whereas Kentucky's in uncharted waters.
All right, guys, who are you taking?
Tennessee, Evansville. I'll take Tennessee.
Well, Oregon State, Kentucky.
Kentucky. I know Jason's not gonna like this, but I think they'll take care of business.
Yeah, well, I don't like it either. I'm not a Kentucky guy either.
I mean, I don't care. I think they'll get beaten Omaha
No,
regardless.
it's just
Right.
Jason is the double hater of University of Kentucky. Like,
Right. I hope they make it to the national title game versus Tennessee. I think that'd be a great.
Oh, we'd
matchup.
sweep them.
Yeah.
Listen, I have no beef. I have no beef with this Kentucky team. They're a good program. I just don't think they have what it takes against the battle-tested Oregon State Beavers. That's all. I'm not picking with my heart here, or I'm not picking with my fandom here. I'm a professional. I'm objective.
Right. Okay. Scroll down, Gus. I want to see the next bracket. So, if Tennessee, assuming that they take care of business here, they'd play the winner of the Tallahassee Regional between Florida State and UConn. Florida State won by 20 runs today. Biggest win in the history of the Super Regionals. They dropped
28-8, right?
24-4, I think, was the final. Now, UConn,
crazy.
You got to give UConn credit. They beat Oklahoma twice in Norman. Very impressive run. And you just have to hope if you're Florida State, this doesn't turn into an NC State-Arkansas situation from 2 years ago, because Arkansas won that first game of that series by 20 runs and proceeded to lose the next 2 games by a run apiece.
Which is exactly what I predicted would happen when we talked about it, Nick. The first thing I thought when I saw that ridiculous score was, oh, watch UConn win 2-1 tomorrow and maybe win 1-0 on Sunday.
Because I bet you will, because I didn't see this game, obviously, but what I bet happened is UConn probably fell behind a bit early. It's like, you know what? This game's toast. We're going to throw out all of our bad pitchers today.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if this thing goes free, but I still will trust Florida State to pull this one off. So I think it'll be a Fiesta Bowl 1999 rematch in Omaha between Tennessee and Florida State, which worked out well for Tennessee that time.
The problem that I have with this that makes me nervous is Florida State's head coach, Link Jarrett, would be rematching with Tennessee because he was the head coach of Notre Dame in 2022.
Which that
makes me
storyline,
nervous.
It would be nuts. But then again, the storylines haven't really panned out so far. Like this weekend, I thought we would see Chase Burns and Wake Forest. But that's something else we didn't talk about.
But at least get East Carolina. But no.
Like, man, how stupid does Chase Burns have to feel right now? I mean, he could have stayed with Tennessee, be a part of the number 1 team, be the ace of this program with an unbelievable offense. Instead, he went to Wake Forest and could win a single game in the postseason.
But I do have to pose the question, even with his pitching ability, do you think Tennessee was better without him in the addition by subtraction? And it's not that he's not talented, but his attitude has shown to be a problem.
Right. It's just the weirdest thing, because, yeah, maybe this team, if you think about it, maybe they gelled better without him.
Yeah. I mean, it's a legitimate question. I don't want to seem vindictive. Chase Burns is an excellent baseball player. He's going to be a great pro, in my view. I think he's going to do very well for himself in the draft in July. But truly, ask yourself this question. Do you think Tennessee may be better off without him? Just addition by subtraction.
Because I mean, honestly, even when you look back at last year, I think with that electric, incredible inning he had at Southern Miss. But you see, he was kind of celebrating by himself. He wasn't really celebrating with his teammates. And maybe it's because he had alienated them. But still, they played with him because they know his talent. Because he would still be the most talented pitcher on this roster.
Of course.
But
he'd be the most talented pitcher on any roster in the country probably right now.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you have to act bigger and better than everybody else.
Gus, I just wonder what you think about this in terms of is this Tennessee team better without Chase Burns?
I mean, Chase Burns made an impact definitely on the team, but so far the results prove he wasn't that important because Tennessee is performing in terms of results equal or even better. So when the results answer your question.
Yeah. So, all right. So I'm going Florida State. You're going.
I'm gonna take Florida
Yeah,
State.
go
But it's a
Florida
lot
State.
closer. It's a lot closer than people think. That 24-4 scoreline is not indicative of how close this game is going to be tomorrow.
And who do you have, Gus?
Yeah, the Seminoles.
All right. So looking over at the Athens regional on the other side, we have Georgia versus NC State. I believe that's a 7v10 regional there. What do we think there? NC State, Georgia.
NC State is another one of those battle-tested programs. Elliott Avent is one of the best coaches in the country. Give me NC State. I don't care where the game is. Give me NC State in a sweep.
I'd agree with that. And Georgia struggled last week because they struggled with UNC Wilmington. They really had to survive. They had to survive Army.
You can call me a hater all you want, but watch this be a sweep.
Yeah, I think NC State impresses me more. I'll take them to pull this off.
Give me the Bulldogs. Give me the Bulldogs.
Oh, we got the contrarian in here.
Yeah, so he's going. So that would be a Kentucky v. Georgia matchup on his, and then for us, we would have Oregon State v. NC State in Omaha, which would be a pretty good matchup. All right, let's go down to the bottom of the bracket here.
Talking about Oregon State in Oregon for a little, or you can talk when you get to Oregon. But I'm thinking about if either Oregon or Oregon State wins the College World Series, it will be the last ever national champion in any sport by Pac-12, or it doesn't count.
And imagine if Oregon and Oregon State face off in Omaha.
That'd be crazy.
I mean, it's like Texas, Oklahoma in softball. I mean,
two of the last 3 seasons.
Yeah,
in the College World Series championship series.
I think it would be even more dramatic because, and if Oregon State would be even more because Oregon State was the one that hold up to Pac-12 and it's out of the limbo right now in terms of finding themselves a new conference, and they can ended up winning the College World Series and giving the Pac-12 one last ride in terms of winning a natty.
And I think it's doable for them as well. I don't think they're the most talented team, but they're one of the best coach teams left in the tournament, and I think they have enough talent to be able to pull some upsets. And that's all you got to do. And to get to Omaha is just pull a couple upsets, and then in Omaha, pull a couple upsets. Once you get to that championship series, all bets are off. All you got to do is get to the second weekend.
Oh, for sure. For sure. All right, let's go down to the bottom half of the bracket here. So, of course, Virginia, Kansas State. Virginia is leading 7-4 right now. I would imagine UVA is going to take this series.
Again, just a better coach team. Battle tested. Virginia also won a national championship within the last decade in baseball. Good, I would say, elite program most years out of the ACC. I'm sure you guys remember Virginia being elite, playing against Tennessee in what was that, 2021 College World
of course,
Series?
that was my introduction to college baseball. So I had no idea how good Virginia actually was.
Yeah,
I thought we were just real for everyone, but
LOL. Boy, do I have bad news for you, my friend.
I'm still learning college baseball, as I say. I'm still very much a casual. I'm in my 4th season of actually paying attention to this sport. But yeah, I think UVA too. Gus, are you with UVA too?
UVA.
Yeah. Okay, so over on the other side, in the Clemson regional, Florida at Clemson. These are 2 teams I definitely don't like very much.
There's one that I definitely dislike more than the other, and I assume it's the opposite of yours.
Yes. I think you dislike the Tigers more, and I dislike the Gators more. And honestly, it's nonsensical that the Gators are even here. They were 28-27 in the regular season, but hey,
you can't tell me that they deserve to be in it more than the Louisville Cardinals. You can't.
But hey, they won their regional.
I get it.
But then again, it's Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State never wins their region. They always host, and they never win.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what's the deal with Oklahoma State? Why can they never win? I feel like they've hosted every single year I've paid attention, and they never get out.
It's that postseason. It's the postseason thing that you got with Calipari and Dave Van Horn. Ironically, both at Arkansas.
I don't know who the coach is out there.
I don't either. I do know though. Former White Sox manager Robin Ventura is on that staff at Oklahoma State. He's a grad assistant, if I remember correctly.
Interesting.
So they got a former major league manager as a grad assistant, so they're very well coached. But come on, man, you got to be able to beat Nebraska and Florida, and I don't even know who that third team is. Niagara.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got to be able to beat Florida. But to Florida's credit, they have the best player in the regional. They have who could be the best player in the country in Jack Caglianone. So whenever you have the best player in the match, or in the matchup, or in the regional, especially in the regional, you've got a decent shot to do well. And he's the best player maybe in the country right now.
And honestly, that's why I'm taking Florida here in this upset.
I'm not going to go that far.
I just they shouldn't have been allowed in here, but now they're going to get hot and make it to Omaha.
They're on house money.
Stupid because it's completely stupid. And plus, I hate Florida, so now they're going to win and make it all the way to Omaha.
While I want to agree with you, I don't think they beat Clemson. Clemson's a pretty well coached team. They're also battle tested. They have been to some super regionals in recent memory. They've got some good players, although their best player is now in Knoxville. Shout out to Billy
Barrels, baby.
I'm going to take Clemson in this, but yeah, we gotta do the stroke.
Yeah,
I'm going to take Clemson in this series, but Jack Caglianone is going to be one of the top draft picks in July, and he is a hell of a ball player.
I also just realized, Sean, this side of the bracket, it could be Kentucky, Georgia, and Florida, all on that side of the bracket. Could there? I mean, outside of Alabama not being there, there can't. It's hard to find a group of teams I hate more than any of those teams. But Gus, who do you have in Florida, Clemson?
Give me the Gators.
All right, 2-1.
I'll go alone. That's fine. I'm gonna take Clemson, much to my chagrin. I hate them both, but there's definitely one that I hate more than the other.
You're all there for ACC supremacy.
I am not.
Okay.
I want Louisville supremacy and Tennessee supremacy. Everybody else can go to hell.
All right, let's go down to the final two at the bottom here. Also, shout out Mississippi State getting eliminated in the regional after starting a fight with Tennessee. Of course, UNC for West Virginia already kind of talked about that. I think UNC.
Yeah, UNC is going to roll them all.
Yeah, West Virginia blew it today. Any disagree, Gus?
No.
Also, Arizona choking their regional at home too. Just not really, really.
Arizona still hasn't recovered from losing their coach to LSU.
Right.
So.
Also, Santa Barbara, they were the 14th seed overall, and they lost to Oregon. And what was that really, really good regional?
The UCSB Gauchos?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. UCSB, go directly to hell.
I agree, but with probably a different reason that Jason has, because I cannot root for a team from Santa Barbara. I just cannot.
UCSB ruined my most fun season of college baseball, my sophomore year at Louisville. That team had, I believe it currently sits at 11 future major leaguers and 20 or 21 future pro players. And all UCSB had was Shane Bieber, who is now a Cy Young winner. And they walked us off to go to Omaha in our own building. UCSB, go directly to hell. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go to hell. This is for you.
My reason is less dramatic. It's just, Santa Barbara, the West, Santa Barbara, the city where Union Barbarense is. So that's why I was joking that I cannot root for a team from Santa Barbara because of my Brazilian rivalry.
The only reason that I don't completely hate that team was because I found out my friend Ivy Davis, former Tennessee shortstop, her older brother actually pitched against Louisville and their entire family was there. And they said it was the best day of their lives when they won that game. Couldn't be me, but, whatever.
Right. Yeah, well, at least Oregon took care of them here last weekend. And also, shout out to Texas A&M in Texas. That was the game they played in the 1-0 game, they went to like 11 innings. It was an absolutely epic game. And I'm going to say this. I don't know if this is cool or if it's cringe. The bubble tradition at College Station after every run, everyone blows bubbles at Texas A&M, and just it was
not my favorite of their traditions.
It was.
I prefer ball 5.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I kind of liked it. It was like I was just like I was confused.
It's kind of random.
It is very random. Now, Texas A&M has some much stupider traditions, but
ain't that the truth?
So, like, out of all the traditions they have, that's
like not showing up for bowl games.
Not showing up for bowl games, having male cheerleaders, especially the male cheerleaders thing. But anyway, Texas A&M, Oregon. I think A&M will roll here. A&M has a fantastic team.
A&M's always good. Jim Schlossnagle is one of the best coaches in the country. Give me A&M. I think it'll be close, but I think it'll be a sweep. It'll be 3-2 and like 5-2, types of games. But I do think that Texas A&M probably sweeps.
Right. So, and Gus, who are you picking?
As much as we discussed the Pac-12, College World Series scenario, but I think, in all honesty, I picked Kentucky to eliminate Oregon State, and I picked Texas A&M to eliminate Oregon.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, in the bottom half, you'll have Virginia and UNC, and then the other side, I think you'll have Florida and A&M, or you'll have Clemson and A&M. So for Tennessee, we're probably looking at being in a World Series regional with Florida State, Virginia, and North Carolina. So,
I'll take Tennessee over all 3 of the ACC schools.
Yeah, I was going to say, is Tennessee versus the ACC.
I'll take Tennessee over any of them, and I don't say this as a homer either. This Tennessee team is the most complete team in the country. They have the best lineup in the country, some of the best pitching, definitely some of the best pitching left. And as long as Tennessee takes care of business and plays Tennessee baseball, Tennessee's going to go to the second weekend and play in the championship series. I will take Tennessee over any of those ACC schools.
Now, I'm curious on the other side. So if I give you Oregon State, NC State, Clemson, and Texas A&M, who do you think comes out of that side?
A&M.
So we're thinking that Tennessee versus Texas A&M for the title.
I would, if I'm picking right now from who is left and what the pools would be in Omaha, I would take Tennessee versus A&M for the national championship series.
And how do you think that would play out?
I prefer not to speak.
I understand.
I don't want to look. I like Tennessee's chances because I think Tennessee is better. TCU is more well coached. Hats off to Jim Schlossnagle. They're tough. Right. Texas A&M's tough. Anything can happen in Omaha. I think it'll be a very competitive series. I like Tennessee's chances, but I'm not trying to jinx it.
Right. And I'm not even going to think of past this weekend. I just want to get one more win against the Purple Aces to finish this off, and then I'll worry about Omaha. But it could be a very interesting road up in the Cornhusker State next week. So definitely go Vols. Hopefully, I'm assuming we will finish out in
barely in the Cornhusker State, though, to be fair.
True. And we have a really close finish here in Indiana, Washington, 82-80 right now. Caitlin Clark at the line. Real quick, just some just one last college baseball note before we leave. Shout out to Birmingham Southern, the Panthers. That school has shut down officially. At the end of last month. But that team went all the way to the College World Series. I think one or two games there.
Yeah, they ended up being eliminated in the D3 College World Series after, I think they went 1-2, I think they went 1-2.
Yeah.
But they played there and they outlasted their entire institution,
which is insane.
Hats off to them.
That will be a movie one day. Gus, have you ever seen anything like that in Brazil? A team outlasting the institution they're associated with?
Not that I can think of, because in Brazil there's not much, college athletics. So it's because in soccer, if the institution is dead, so is the teams. But I wonder.
I think the closest thing you can get to that is like a Phoenix Club. If your club dies and the Phoenix Club comes back, but that's not the same.
Kind of like the Indy 11.
What I'm curious about is how was the schematics, or in terms of behind the scenes kind of organization, because when your institution is closed, like what do you do in terms of resources, in terms of stuff? Like, because that takes quite a bit of organization.
Right. Um, yeah. So I guess like basically in Brazil, it's just it'd be really really hard to ever have um really hard to basically have anything like that ever happen.
Yeah, th- I that's I mean, the one thing I can think of. I mean, what a good example of kind of that, not close, but it's like, for example, Novo Horizontino, which is currently winning 2-1 against Santos. They were popular in the '90s, but their original team folded, and was created a new one with different acronyms, but the colors were the same, the stadium was the same, everything was the same.
So
So I
it's a
guess,
Phoenix club.
yeah, it's a Phoenix club, like you point out, Jason. That's what I can think of. But uh, in terms of your university or your what keeps you alive goes. I mean, another thing they can think of, for example, there was a team called Atlético Sorocaba, and they were maintained by a Korean church, which the founder was North Korean. There was a funny story that they played in North Korea back in 2010, and Kim Jong Un convinced everybody that was the Brazilian national team because they play in yellow, but they were
I
not.
remember this. I remember this, Gus.
But the church folded because their leader died. But the club kept it alive for 2 years, but ended up you know ceased to exist. But that's what I can think of, because the church kept the team financially, and then the church was over, so the team kind of stay alive barely, but then it folded 2 years later. That's what I closest I can think of. But but that story was remarkable. Like, what a story.
Absolutely. So shout out to
No,
them. Yeah.
another I can, like, imagine, like, you had this great run, you make history, and when you come back to university, like, well, like, for example, when Tennessee basketball had that great run this year, they went back to campus and they had a great party. Imagine going back to a dead campus, a campus that no longer holds your institution that you're playing.
You make
Well,
your own party.
right. Well, we're about to have a
Yeah.
dramatic finish here, and Fever Mystics. Mystics get the ball down to with 1.4 seconds to go, 85-83. And Caitlin Clark missed the second of two free throws to set this situation up. Mystics are going to get a shot, and they didn't get it off. So Fever win 85-83. And I believe that's what their third win?
Yes.
Yes. So there you go. So the Fever win 85-83.
I'm sorry, Maisha.
See,
I still love you.
since we're talking about the fever, I want to get to the hot take.
Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll get to some of the other stuff here in just a minute. All right. So Caitlin Clark just won, but I don't know if this week has necessarily been a win for the WNBA.
It has not.
It has been. I don't know if I've maybe since Colin Kaepernick have I not seen a sports topic rile up so many takes that maybe are not really sports takes. This, and I don't know if it's just because it's an election year or what, but like it. So basically, if you don't know what's going on, this whole situation started last Saturday in the Sky versus Fever game. And
Well, this situation has gone back farther than that. Let's be
True.
real. But it really came to a head, at
it was
least.
a flashpoint. It was a flashpoint last Saturday when Shandy Carter just cheap shot at Caitlin Clark out of nowhere, called her a bitch right before she did so, and
But I do want to point out, this is the first time anybody's ever heard Kennedy Carter's name before. So who's the real loser here?
true. And plus, she's already been on 3 teams. It was the 4th overall pick in 2020. Got kicked off her first team because she got into she was threatening to fight folks, and then it's just got kicked off again for breaking team rules. So I mean, she has a mean streak to her.
I mean, I'm not going to say that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, I'm about to say this is a topic that we could get easily canceled on very quickly. Yeah, because basically the discourse overall is it getting too political and too toxic, and like to an extent, sure, because it's like I think the WNBA in general has kind of like this political aura about it in terms of like this is the prime example of showing how far women have come in this country. And I feel like because of it, the players in this league have as much pressure as any other players in American sports to prove that they are the beacons of equality. And I think when you look at someone like a Caitlin Clark coming into that arena, there's a lot of people who I think are jealous of that. And they
Hell yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And people are bitter that Asia Wilson wasn't the face of the league. And listen, Asia Wilson's awesome. I am a big fan. I'm also a big fan of Angel Reese. I mean, my first favorite player was Tamika Catchings. Like, this is not a black and white issue. I don't care what anybody says. It's not. And people, the first thing that I want to get into here is that the players are trying to punk her out because they think that's going to get them an advantage in the game. And I understand why. That doesn't mean that everybody's going to agree with it or stand for it. And I think that there's every chance in the world that the Fever just go out and sign a James Johnson, which I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he played for the Pacers, and he was only signed because he was on a 10-day contract with the Pacers when the original Bucks fight happened, and he got up off the bench, and everybody kind of like scattered because everybody's afraid of that guy.
Right.
And so there is, there's a girl who played for the LA Sparks, and I forget her name, but she is supposed to be the WNBA's James Johnson. Maybe you sign her because you don't want your star player getting abused like that. And that's fine. But at the end of the day, you do what you do. And at the end of the day, the Fever have to protect Caitlin Clark. And now with that being said, there's also the race argument, this race baiting that's been going on, saying, oh, well, she's marketable because she's white and she's only popular because she's white and whatever. And the marketability thing, sure, I will agree. She is marketable because she's white, and here's why. Whenever you have somebody that looks different from the majority of the rest of the people in your league or your sport, who is the best, they are marketable. Take Tiger Woods, Lewis Hamilton,
Jackie Robinson.
Bubba Wallace, yeah, sure. When you have, especially when they're at the top. Bubba Wallace, let's not get twisted. He's not at the top.
Yeah. But how about Jackie Robinson in baseball?
Well, he existed in an era far before. You had some marketability, but we gotta remember the 1940s are way different than the modern.
Oh,
No, I know, but yeah.
Because Jackie Robinson legitimately couldn't go to a lot of places
right
when he was playing. This is a completely he was just fighting for the right to even play.
Right. And so with that said, though, again, when you have somebody who looks different from just about everybody else, who comes in and is the best, of course they're going to lay into that marketing. They're going to play into that and market the hell out of it. It's the same thing that happened in Formula One with Lewis Hamilton. He is the first black driver in Formula One to ever be successful, ever. And then Tiger Woods is the most successful black golfer of all time. And they were both at the top for years. And they are marketable. They're so marketable because they look different. You have to play into that. You have to be cognizant of that. You have to understand what that means. This is like saying, people talk about, oh, well, the white dudes of the NBA. This is the same thing. It's still basketball. And, the joke is white dudes are in the NBA because they can shoot from three or they're 7 foot tall. Okay, what if Larry Bird played today? He'd be the most marketable player in the history of the league.
Yeah.
And that's not because he's white. It's because he looks different from the top of the league otherwise. And it's not that serious. It really isn't. I don't care what anybody says. It's not that serious. It's the same reason why people really like Tiger Woods and people really like Lewis Hamilton. Those are the two easiest examples to think of in white-dominated sports, racing and golf. The two guys who dominated those respective sports for a decade, black, marketable, because they look different. It's really that simple. Honestly, it's that simple.
Right. I'm just curious, guys. Have you ever seen a situation like this in Brazil with a new star player that has like arisen like not necessarily racial issues, but like just political issues in general?
Neymar, because the media used to love him, but when he shows support for one candidate in a presidential election, the media turned on him completely, did a 180. Um, but in terms of, but I'll compare Clayton Clark to Hendrick. Hendrick came to pro soccer like this new, exciting player, but but now he's being called aggressive, and he's not being very much. I mean, he's going to Real Madrid, so he's not carrying anymore. But in terms of Caitlin Clark, my opinion is she said herself, I'm used to playing with tough players. I'm used to this kind of environment. And I kind of understand some WNBA players feeling resent because they're like, hey, I've been here for a really long time, playing my hardest in this league. And now people only watch me for one player, so they want to show, hey, newbie, I'm here way longer than you. Kind of show some kind of toughness in terms of, and that's normal. I'm now working in a soccer team, and I'm being around players, and there's a lot of kind of this attitude of, hey, newbie, learn your place. That's kind of in sports worldwide. Now, guys, I think you guys are muted. You guys are muted.
And there we go. All right.
Apologies. I think that's fine. The resentment, I get it. I understand. I'm not going to hate on somebody for thinking that they've earned the right to be popular. I understand. But with that said, what I can't get behind is the defense of cheap shots, the defense of taking, a cheap shot or talking badly about Caitlin Clark in the media, or in a game, just cheap shotting her, because all she has done is given the flowers to everybody else. She's talked about how her and Angel Reese have made the best out of each other, pushed each other to be their best, and she has talked about how Asia Wilson is a trailblazer. She has talked about all of these players that people keep saying should be more popular, and I don't understand what she has done to. I don't know what she has done to be resented like this, other than be white and be good. And I don't think the players, I don't think, are playing into the race thing at all. I think they're more frustrated that, like you said, Gus, they've been around a little bit longer. And even what Angel Reese said, and like I said, I'm a big Angel Reese fan, but what she said about, oh, well, I'm here too, I'm popular too, I get that. But when people start saying that the Dallas Wings hosting the Chicago Sky was also a sellout because of Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso, stop it. Don't move the goalposts when the Dallas Wings were playing in a stadium 10,000 seats fewer than all of the Fever games that have been sellouts. I understand, but stop moving the goalposts. It's not like that. And with that said, I got a lot of things to say about that.
I mean, of course, the thing I kind of question when I look at this, I was concerned when Caitlin got ran into, that the Fever didn't really seem to defend her in that situation, and that to me, well, obviously, I don't think it's a race thing. I think it's an indication of a bad culture.
100%. The coach of the Fever, I don't even know her name. She's terrible. She sucks. There's a reason we've had back-to-back number one picks.
Yeah, Christy Sales, I think, is her name, and she shouldn't be the coach after this.
Nobody should know her name because she's crap.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just like at some point, this is going to be your star. For you, her and Aaliyah Boston are going to be your 1-2.
And even Katie Lou Samuelson, who was a star at UConn, was a star in the WNBA before choosing to skip a season to pursue motherhood.
Right.
You've got some star power.
Right.
And I think that once this is all said and done, I think the Fever are going to find somebody to just go out there and goon anybody that decides to try to make a scene, like the Pacers signed with James Johnson.
True. And what's interesting is just the larger discussion about like and how this is like really just blown up. Like if you watched ESPN the other day, like the discussion is nuts because like Stephen A. Smith got caught out by I think it was Maria Honeycutt, I believe is her name. I don't know. But
I don't watch ESPN anymore, so
yeah, I just saw this on YouTube because I don't know who has the time to sit around and watch daytime television, but.
It's not even quality content either.
Yeah, no, it's not great.
I miss the days where you could sit and watch SportsCenter for an hour, see all the highlights from every game, call it a day. And now they got Skip Bayless Vandy ass running his mouth all the time.
Right. Well, Skip Bayless isn't on ESPN anymore. He's on Fox.
Oh, whatever. It's the same crap everywhere. It doesn't even matter.
But basically, you had like, for example, Pat McAfee like had to apologize for some of his takes. And
I love Pat too.
And then like Stephen A. Smith getting caught saying that you could have been covering WNBA 3 years ago. And
I hate that. You stop the gatekeeping.
Right. And it's just like first and foremost,
you bitch and bitch and bitch that nobody watches your sport or covers your sport, and then somebody starts to do it. Oh well, you should have been doing it years ago.
Right. And I guess the question is, do we owe it to women's sports? To just cover them just for the sake that they are women's sports. I feel like that argument is disingenuous to women because
I agree.
Because like women, I mean, if we're going to treat everyone equally, you have to fight for the attention. There's a lot of entertainment options out there. And every sport fights for eyeballs. And that includes the WNBA.
Yeah. And it's not to say that the WNBA hasn't had super talented athletes. I mean, shit. My favorite player growing up, my two favorite players growing up were basketball players, and it was Reggie Miller and Tamika Catchings. I have been a Fever supporter literally my whole life, as long as I can remember. And because the Fever just turned 25 this year, I just turned 28. Right. So it was my entire memory. I remember rooting for the Fever. And it is disingenuous to just say, oh, well, women's sports should just be covered because they're women's sports. You, again, like you said, have to fight for the attention. There's a reason that, like, the women's national team is so popular. It's because they compete for attention and they win it by winning a lot.
Right.
And they're entertaining. And I don't care what anybody has to say about the political crap about them or any individual players. The U.S. women's national team is awesome. And they went and they just hired the best manager in the world in women's soccer. In Emma Hayes from Chelsea.
And they'll be back to winning titles very
yeah, they're going to win the gold in the Olympics.
And
100%.
And like the Williams sisters in tennis, and like look at
they're another example of how somebody that looks different from the majority of everybody else but dominate can become really, really marketable. That's another great example.
Exactly. And then you take a look at gymnastics and how
Simone Biles.
Yeah, how popular those women are. And it's not that we were ignoring the WNBA because they're women. It's because the WNBA product, frankly, until this year has not been good. It's not been entertaining. It's not been fun to watch, in my view.
And it's not that women's basketball is not entertaining because the college game has been drawing crowds for years.
Oh yeah, I've always watched the Lady Vols.
Exactly.
The Lady Vols here are an institution with Pat Summitt.
It's just that the WNBA has been traditionally a lackluster league. And it shows because their players go and play overseas in the offseason because they can't make enough money because it's not that great of a league.
But Caitlin Clark could change all that.
100%. And I don't want to say that it's just Caitlin Clark because it's not, but she is the primary driving force. It's also Angel Reese, it's also Camila Cardoso, it's also Cameron Brink. This rookie class, but it's anchored by Caitlin Clark, can be the turning point for the WNBA. And the WNBA has to feed into this.
Right. And I do also want to shout out to, we've got the Dodgers and the Yankees on here on the Apple TV Plus Friday night here. 0-0 in the 10th inning. So Michigan wins that one.
Yeah, all that money buys you no runs.
Exactly. I mean, how much money combined do these two teams spend on their payroll?
This is a great question.
Because I mean, these are definitely the two highest payrolls in the entire MLB, and we are 0-0 here in the 10th.
So they're actually not 1-2.
The Mets. Wait, how did the Braves spend more than the Dodgers? That doesn't feel right. But well, actually, no. When you look at our roster, actually, yes, that kind of does.
Yeah, the New York Mets.
And New York, and they suck. It's the funny thing. The Phillies, okay, the Phillies are gonna.
They're 2-3, according to USA Today.
So that combined, they basically almost have about $600 million in combined payroll. So, $552 million roughly. And it's 0-0 here in the top of the.
You can say that just buys you good pitching, but I prefer to say that it buys
I just wonder what Shohei bet on this game tonight. So,
oh no.
But shout out to that MLB guy who was banned.
Oh yeah, the guy from the Padres.
Yeah, I've never heard of him before. Tucupita Marcano.
Yeah, Tucupita Marcano, former Indianapolis Indian.
Yeah, well, enjoy your retirement, sir, because
No, he'll go play in Mexico.
Yeah,
or Korea or Japan.
He can go bet from over there.
The sad part about that is he made so many bets and he lost them all. That's so sad.
Hey, take Tennessee over 9 wins this year, sir. But anyway, back to the WNBA though. Just kind of, I guess, wrap that thing up. I think it's going to be obnoxious this year just because it's an election year, and all these political types are going to show up and they're going to try to attack. Because here's the thing: you got people that have never watched a WNBA game that can't even name the teams. They're coming in and now having the strongest takes about the WNBA. I think there's certain people that I can call.
How many teams are in the WNBA?
They're 12.
All right, let's see how many I can name. Are there 12? Can you verify this real quick?
Yeah.
All right. Fever, Mystics, Liberty, Sun, Aces, Storm, Mercury. That's 7, right? Dallas Wings. Did I say them already?
No.
Or Chicago Sky. There's 8. Now, can you check? Because I think there's only 8. I think I just named them all.
No, I'm pretty sure there's 12. They're 12. There are 12 teams.
Okay. Tulsa Shock.
Nope, they don't exist.
They folded. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to the OGs from the Detroit Shock. Let's see. I feel like
because you've named the Sun, the Liberty, you've named the Fever, the Sky, the Mystics, the Wings, the Mercury, and the Storm. Right. So you've named 1, 2,
the Sparks.
3, 4. So
the Aces.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, you're missing 2 teams.
Shit, I don't know. I give up.
Okay, so you're missing the Minnesota Lynx and the Atlanta Dream.
Yeah, the Atlanta Dream are very forgettable.
Yeah.
Minnesota Lynx, I try to forget because they beat the Fever in the championship series.
And the WNBA, that's the only team they have in the South is the Atlanta Dream, and I've never met a single fan. Although there is a girl who grew up about 20 minutes from here, Ryan Howard, who played at Kentucky.
Ryan Howard.
But hey, I blame Holly Warlick for that. She didn't recruit her to Tennessee.
She should have gone to Louisville anyway.
So,
but Louisville's best ever player played for the Atlanta Dream, and I still forgot about him.
Yeah.
Very forgettable.
Yeah, well, the Atlanta Dream just stinks.
But shout out to the OGs that know about the Detroit and Tulsa Shock. I'm trying to think of some. There's at least one other WNBA team that doesn't exist anymore. I'm trying to think what it is, but regardless.
Yeah, but it just goes to show that, if even us, and I was trying to do this the other day, and I couldn't name them off the top of my head either. And it's like, if even us as diehard sports fans can't name all teams, it goes to
and I watched the WNBA.
And there's a lot. WNBA has a long road ahead of it to attaining relevancy. But it's getting a huge boost this year. And, and I think this draft class, as you mentioned, is going to go down like the 1984 NBA class was for the NBA.
I can get behind that.
Now, I don't know if WNBA will ever reach what the NBA has in popularity.
No.
But I think, I don't know, what is the ceiling for the WNBA's popularity? Like, how would we quantify? that.
I don't think you can compare it with the already established sports. I think that you can be firmly into the conversation. I think you can be firmly into the discussion about, okay, where do you put them in regards to like NFL, college football? Because NFL and college football are always going to be 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And you can debate which one is bigger. It doesn't matter. They are 1 and 2, and it's not close.
I mean, NFL, I think
to anybody else.
I mean, NFL, I think indisputably is 1. Now, being in Tennessee, it sometimes feels like college football is bigger, but that's like
college football is bigger over a more vast distance. NFL makes more money.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, take a look at the college football playoff TV contracts.
I mean,
that's ridiculous.
With that tournament, it might become bigger. But anyway, I think we've run the WNBA thing into the ground at this point. But at this point, hopefully,
I'd rather stay on this than the next topic, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think the WNBA, though, I think they'll learn from this. I think Becky Hammond had a really great point where saying, this is a great field league. I think the drama ultimately, while yes, the political side of it is ugly, the creation of rivalries is great. Chicago, Indianapolis, that should be a great rivalry.
I hate that too because I like Angel Reese. I was rooting for the Sky when Candace went home. She took Derrick Rose's career arc, which is also kind of sad. The hometown kid bringing a basketball championship back to Chicago.
Right.
But I hate that because I like Angel Reese. I rooted for the Chicago Sky, but it is what it is. I'm always going to root for the Fever over anybody. But
right. So anyway, I think WNBA though I think it will ultimately benefit, but hopefully from a society standpoint, we can get past this whole like colorism thing, this black and white thing, and especially someone who's interracial, like it sucks to still see it, and like just from my perspective, like just to have to kind of walk that line, and kind of because like I can see where both sides are coming from, and it just but it's just the history of our country, unfortunately, and it'll never. I don't know if it will ever completely heal. So, but anyway, that goes way beyond just the WNBA. That's just America. But anyway,
I mean, it's the world. To be fair,
it is the world.
It looks different everywhere, but the concept remains just about everywhere.
Very much. All right. Well, the next to the topic that you really want to talk about here, Tennessee Louisville basketball.
Pain.
Yeah, on November 9th. Now, I will say this. I'll say this from at least my perspective here. It's like going to be the first, I guess, big game of the year in basketball. But it's November, so it's going to be the same day as a football game for the Vols. So I don't know if many Vols fans will even really be paying attention to this game.
No. That nobody watches the Vols until like January in basketball, just because people are busy watching Josh Heupel and the gang hopefully go to the playoff this year.
Right. And I think we'll be in the midst of that chase.
100%.
And although we should be, I think, favorites against Miss State that day by a considerable margin. If we're worried about Miss State in that point in the season, something's gone horribly wrong. Or Miss State has severely overachieved, but I don't think that's going to happen. And
they don't have Dak Prescott. I'm not worried about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Louisville versus Tennessee. I dread it all the time. I hate it. I hate that it's finally happening. I'm going to show up to the Yum Center. Probably will watch the Vols football game on my phone, and I'll wear a shirt. And you guys can hold me to this. I will wear a shirt. It's just a plain shirt that says, "I just hope both teams have fun," and I 100% will do that.
And I think honestly for Louisville here, I think while Tennessee will be the favorites here heading into this game, but
it'll be a good early test for the Pat Kelsey Cards.
Yeah, and I think they're going to show hopefully at least for Louisville that they're going to be more competitive in these type of games. And because honestly, from my perspective, I don't know what to expect here. Because obviously we don't have Dalton Connect anymore. And I feel like that we've done a really good job replacing the players that we've lost, but it's still going to be a new team. it's Sakai with brand new pieces around them.
Yeah.
So it's a new look Tennessee versus a new look Louisville. So I don't know what to expect. Any Tennessee fan who walks in and said, "Oh, we're going to blow out Louisville here," I think should pump the brakes here, because I think it will be a close game, especially in Louisville. I know y'all are going to be pumped up there for that because as
there's no football game.
There's no football game that week.
It was very conveniently scheduled.
And plus, it's a basketball. Y'all are a basketball school, and y'all are just excited to be done with whoever I forget who the last coach even was.
I don't want to bring him up.
Yeah. So, but you're done with that era, and you're now on to this new era.
Yeah, we have gone from KP to PK, and hopefully that reverses our fortunes as well. But as the truest neutral you could possibly be in that game, I still think Tennessee wins by double digits. That's my honest prediction. But it's still very early. It's June 7th, and that game doesn't take place for another 6 months. So there's a lot to change between now and then.
And plus, playing Tennessee both of the first 2 years will be a good litmus test to see how far Kelsey's gone from his year 1 to year 2.
Absolutely.
And you would think by year 2 he's taking a huge jump forward, but then we'll also have to come into a really hostile environment at TBA, which granted I know is not.
Which I'll probably also wear the shirt too.
I know it's not the Young Center, but damn it, I love TBA, and we'll show up for Louisville. I would think.
The most hostile environment I was ever a part of was in the Yum Center, but Thompson Bowling Arena is still pretty awesome. The fans are great, but nothing's going to top Louisville versus Duke when Grayson Allen returned after the first tripping incident, which was against Louisville. And I was running the student section, and we booed him every single time he touched the ball all 40 minutes. And he went to the bench and threw something down. He threw a tantrum. And after the game, he said on record to the media that was the most hostile environment he ever played in. And I was like, my man, this is my house.
Right. And here's the thing. With it being a regular game, I'm not going to get too hyped up or worked up over it. But if this were March, it'd be a lot different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'd be thrilled if it was March. That means that Louisville did something right and got back into the tournament.
Yeah.
I'm going to create a petition to call the Jason Warwick series.
They should call it the Allen Houston series.
Now that I agree with.
Because he obviously...
Or Chris Burke.
Yeah.
I mean... There are a number of athletes from Louisville or Knoxville that have gone to the other school. The two off the top easily, Allen Houston and Chris Burke, though. Chris Burke is baseball. I don't want it to be named after me. I think there are more well-deserving people, Allen Houston being the primary one. But regardless, I appreciate the love, Gus.
Oh, when I saw that post, I thought about you immediately. I was like, I wonder how Jason reacted. My first thought was,
right.
But I comment on your post and say it's also good because you won't be sad. It's a game that whoever wins, you'll be happy.
Yeah, but it's also a game I'm going to be pissed off regardless. So there's a bottom side to that as well.
That's true. That's fair.
So we'll see what happens when we get there in November. But to the basketball of the present, though, some NBA, some of the men's side here.
Boston in 4.
It might be Boston 4. I was very surprised that Dallas was so overwhelmed last night. Luka just never really got it going. Kyrie made some tough shots, but man, Kristaps Porzingis was the star in Game 1 last night. He certainly showed that he was healthy, and if Kristaps Porzingis plays that well the entire series, Dallas might win a game. But
I think this shows the Pacers were better than the Mavs, though.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and bait everybody with that one.
I mean, the Pacers did not get ran out of the building in any of their 4 games like that.
The Pacers should have been up 3-1 when we got swept.
I made an argument. I don't know who I was talking with today, but I was like, the only thing I was skeptical of the Celtics because they are chokers, and the person I was talking to, I was like, how can you call the Celtics choker? They are, the team that won the most NBA titles. So I correct myself. The 21st, the 21st.
Yeah, but they were playing. Choker. Okay, but when they won the majority of those titles, their star player still had to ride in the back of the bus.
Right.
Let's not get too
and they had
not get too crazy here.
And there was 8 teams in the NBA too at the time.
Yeah. So I correct myself and said, but they are the 21st century chokers for me in the NBA. So that kind of made me skeptical a little bit. But the way they performed last night, it shows they are the most complete NBA team. That's why they rolled through the East. I think was not a detriment to their opponents, because I kind of agree with you, Jason. And if Indiana was in the West, maybe they would have a better fortune. It just shows how the Celtics this season came ready to win finally a championship that was long overdue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they are the deserving team that would deserve it the most this year, I would say.
Shout out to Brad Stevens, too. He went from being the best coach in the country at any level to now the best GM at any level.
That dude's just a basketball savant. But Indiana fans are
it was inevitable he would have success as a general manager, because he's so cerebral in terms of basketball that when he didn't have to deal with personalities and kind of the heat side of basketball, it could like be really into analytics and making kind of more behind the scenes decisions, he would have thrived.
Spencer, he says, I wouldn't say they rolled through. They had to fight the Cavs and Pacers. They swept, but had to fight for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth, because you've got the Pacers, who should have truly been up 3-1 when the series ended up in 4-0 to Boston. And so I think Spencer's exactly right. And it's not any knock against Boston. I just think that they played some tough competition. If anything, that's respect to them for pulling out all those wins.
No, yeah, that's what that was my point. I said this last night performance, I think it shows how it's not Indiana and Cavs that were weaker. I say Boston showed they were the better team and more complete team to win. And I literally made the point that if the Indiana was in the West, I say probably they would have made the finals. Probably they would have go, probably toe to toe with Dallas, with Minnesota. That's what my point. I was praising Boston, not kind of belittling Indiana and Cleveland.
Yeah, again, I mean, you are a Knicks fan, though, so we wouldn't put it past
Indiana, that would have had a completely different path in the West. And every matchup is different.
Yeah, but like I said, Gus, you are a Knicks fan, and Knicks fans are still lubing their buttholes over how butthurt they were. They're still in our mentions on Twitter. Hang the banner.
Yeah, I mean, the Rangers and the Knicks both completely letting down New York. We'll definitely get the Stanley Cup here in a second. But I guess we're all in agreement, Boston here to win the NBA. But finals. But one more point I want to make here. It feels like no one's talking about the NBA finals. I feel like the WNBA has absorbed all the attention this week. And because there was a week gap between the conference finals and the NBA finals, no one cares.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's like the second straight time this has happened, too. Like, the NBA's got to figure out a solution for this gap that occurs between the conference finals and the NBA finals. I feel like the NBA loses all momentum, and then by the time the actual finals rolls around, no one cares.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It killed all the momentum that the conference finals series built.
Yeah. But if you're Adam Silver, how do you fix that?
I mean, flex schedule. Yeah, like Spencer said, they shouldn't have had that gap at all. Like, just call ESPN, Disney, or whoever, say, just flex your schedule like every other league does it. You don't have to have a set up date to start your finals. Like, just, if both teams are done in 5, just put the game 3 days after. You don't have to have a set date.
And plus, there's no marketing. Like, I thought the game was starting at 9 last night. I turned it on at like 8:45. It's already halfway through the first quarter. I'm like, wait, when did they start at 8:30? Because it's always started at 9. They would have a half hour of Jimmy Kimmel, then you would do the pregame show, and then boom, the finals. But I guess they don't do the Jimmy Kimmel thing anymore, which good. Less of him is better. But
right.
Still, it's just like
I think you should have 2 schedules that you approve. One where everything goes 7, and one where everything goes like within 5. Because you can, if you have those 2 different schedules, you can flex those games and you can still sell your tickets at a reasonable with a reasonable amount um, of buying window for the populace, and it doesn't have to be complete flex. Although I agree with you, Gus, I think that would be great. But in reality, with the venue sharing and stuff, like in Dallas, they had the Dallas Stars playing, and then in New York, they had Madison Square Garden being occupied by both the Rangers and the Knicks before they both choked. And let's see, the Florida Panthers don't play at the Heat Arena, but you've got potential. You've got potential. You know, scheduling conflicts, and the same thing in Boston, playing at the TD Garden. You got the Boston Bruins before they choked as well. But if you can come up with two different schedules, just one for a quick series and one for a long series in the conference finals, you can stay relevant. You can have that flexibility. But this was just a complete disaster for the NBA because the conference finals weren't very competitive in terms of number of games being played. And so they just lost all the momentum that the rest of the playoffs had built up, because the playoffs were very entertaining. And like, especially the Knicks Pacers series, that was the best series in the NBA playoffs this year. It was the most fun. And people watched it because the Pacers are a fun team, and then the Knicks were a fun team. And when you put those two teams together, and you've got Tyrese Halliburton versus Jalen Brunson, and you've got, whatever, and then you play into the Hicks versus Knicks, Pacers Knicks rivalry, you play into all that and market the hell out of it, and they got a ton of viewers. And then all of a sudden, nobody cares anymore because you just waited a week. People are talking about the WNBA.
Exactly. We spend so much time about the WNBA on this podcast. NBA, it's like, well, I think Boston's going to win.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much it. And also, too, the matchup I don't think is fantastic. When was the last truly great NBA Finals matchup that we actually had? 2016?
2019. Toronto Golden State.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
I was thinking even farther back than that. The last truly great one, the last time the Celtics played the Lakers was the last truly great one for me. Whenever it was.
2010.
It went to, if I remember correctly, it went to 7 games. It was Kobe and Powell and like Ron Artest and Trevor Ariza versus Rondo, Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen.
Like, what would be the very best possible NBA Finals matchup that the NBA could sell right now?
I mean, Jason's gonna hate me for that. But I mean, I was gonna say
LA.
But like who?
Knicks and the Lakers.
But like who? Obviously, Lakers got LeBron. But who are you selling for the Knicks? Jalen Brunson?
I mean, the Knicks fans are crazy. It's the market.
It's the market.
It's the market. It's not the players. I mean, you can sell Jalen Brunson. He's a great player. But as far as like player marketability, I think
honestly, something like Sixers Nuggets. Give me Jokic versus Embiid at
But in terms of, but I like this. But let's talk about this kind of player marketability for NBA. Like, I know you guys talk about a lot of great basketball.
The best,
a lot of what?
I was just saying Celtics Lakers. I think that's probably in terms of player marketability, because you got those guys from the Celtics. Plus, you've got LeBron and his pals in Los Angeles, plus the historic rivalry. But I think the NBA would have loved to have New York versus Boston in the conference finals. That's for sure. Sorry, NBA.
Right.
And sorry, Gus. Gus was nothing but nice to me also. I want this to be clear. Gus never talked bad about the Pacers ever. He is not every other Knicks fan. I feel bad talking bad about the Knicks
because my opinion about rivalry is, as much as I want the Knicks to win, as much as I love the team, I think rivalries are amazing. I want the Pacers. The Knicks Pacers are the best rivalry in the East, like outside of local rivalries. I think what they did in the 90s were amazing. that New York versus Reggie Miller movie is amazing. That 30 for 30 is one of the best documentaries. Like,
I agree.
how film director was a key component in an NBA series. That for me is flabbergasting. How Spike Lee was a major kind of a major part into that. For me, he was like how he was
He
kind of
fueled Reggie Miller's animosity.
yeah, like, and I love that he went to Indiana for Game 6. That was bold. That was bold. He went there for Game 6.
Look, we're good people in Indiana. We're not jagoffs like New Yorkers. We're not going to kill him
Oh.
or beat him up or anything. We'll just boo him, tell him he sucks.
Right. But
But my point in terms of player marketability right now, I think the NBA is gonna truly be on a drought in terms of that when LeBron retires, because like you can, I guess, I'm not questioning the how good Jokic, how good Luca, how good Giannis, how
I mean, let's
good
call it how it is,
Embiid.
Gus. Though it's because they're not American. A lot of
Yes,
people don't care as much about them.
yeah, that's exactly the point I was about to make up. We don't have many young, great American players right now.
It's that AAU culture is killing American basketball. Truly.
Right.
I mean, Anthony Edwards. The fact that Anthony Edwards is as good as he is and he got wasted by Tom Crean at Georgia is astonishing.
Right.
That dude should have been going to the Final Four just because of how good he is.
I remember he cooked the balls that year he was there. He absolutely cooked us, but that Georgia didn't do much else the rest of that year.
Of course they didn't.
But it's just, yeah. We hashtag make American basketball great again. Magba.
Magba.
Please make Hold on, I'm gonna make American basketball great again. I'm gonna. But like seriously though, like it is a shame. We invented. Well, actually, a Canadian invented this game
In
technically.
Kansas.
But you guys crafted and created a market and create the this worldwide kind of passion for basketball, especially in North America.
Oh yeah, it's just insane to me.
We got to be glad that Yugoslavia is not in existence anymore because we'd be toast in the Olympics.
Like we were talking about this earlier. Name that roster that they would have right now.
Okay. So, I mean, first of all, you'd have Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic. But it's all the players from the former Yugoslav republics of, let's see, Serbia, Croatia, Macedonia, Slovakia.
North Macedonia.
Oh, yeah, they are North Macedonia, aren't they?
Yeah. You learn geography.
Greeks.
You learn geography when you watch the European qualifying for the World Cup.
Yeah. Do you know why they did that, though? Do you know why
No.
they changed their name to North Macedonia? Because the Greeks threatened economic sanctions against them because they have a region of Greece called Macedonia. And they said, we are the only Macedonia. Seriously, this is real. Yugoslavia basketball.
And like they would have been
roster,
amazing in the 80s
2024.
too. Like if Yugoslavia's around 92, they might have been the only team that could have given that dream team any sort of run for their money.
Okay, here is the hypothetical. This is the hypothetical Yugoslavia Olympic lineup for this year. The starting five: Luka, Bogdan Bogdanovic. Okay, so Luka's from Slovenia. And I meant Slovenia, not Slovakia. I don't know why I said Slovakia. Luka Doncic from Slovenia, Bogdan Bogdanovic from Serbia, Nikola Vucevic from Montenegro, Bojan Bogdanovic from Croatia, and Nikola Jokic from Serbia. And then the bench is also quite deep with talent. And I mean,
they would beat the American team.
Oh, hell yeah, they would.
They would so beat the American team.
And it would be even more pronounced in soccer, too, because think if the Croatia team from 2018 had players from the other former Yugoslav republics. If Slobodan Milosevic was still around, they'd have won a World Cup. they'd have beat the hell out of the French.
Right.
Vucevic.
They don't
You
have
guys
to
remember
switch players.
Vucevic? He was a great striker too, from Macedonia, I think.
Yeah, I remember there were a couple of really, really, really strong players that they could have added if it was Yugoslavia. But the Croats own soccer. But let's be real. You could have added Edin Dzeko from Bosnia, if that may be who you're talking about. You could have added, yeah, Dzeko's the one that comes to mind. But at the time, he'd have been a stud to add to that lineup. But regardless.
Yeah, so in any case, make American basketball great again. We need some young, great Americans to bring some interest back to the NBA.
And the problem is these guys are too friendly off the court. Again, it's AAU culture. Everybody's bros with everybody else. Nobody wants to hate each other anymore.
And see, that's what the WNBA also is doing, too. They're making us remember what it's actually like when athletes don't like each other.
Yeah, honestly. Everybody's bros off the court. That's crap. I want somebody on my team to just hate somebody on the other team. I want
the bad boy. I want the bad boys Pistons back. Bill Embiid, Isaiah Thomas. You know how much anger they made the other team felt. That was amazing.
Well, the Chicago Sky are on their way to become the WNBA version of that. So.
And I love that. I'm all for it.
Yeah, same. I want my players on my team to hate the other players like I do.
Right.
That's what makes it entertaining. And now, in the era of super teams and everybody moves around all the time, everybody's got their boys and whatever. Like, sure, if you've got one of your friends that you're playing against, cool, show them love after the game, whatever, that's fine. But I want somebody to just hate the other guy. I want Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson to hate each other. I want Miles Turner and that German dude, the German dude that's from Oregon, to hate each other from the Knicks. I can't even remember Isaiah Hartenstein. I want those guys to hate each other. I want LeBron and Dwayne Wade to hate each other. But we can't do that because that's not friendly enough.
Right. And I think that's also driving down the ratings, is because there just isn't the urgency.
And speaking of LeBron and the Lakers, Dan Hurley's not going to the Lakers.
That would be
not happening.
A ridiculous decision by Dan Hurley.
Oh, yeah. This guy who has only ever coached collegiately and only ever coached in the Northeast go to South Beach. Go to Los Angeles. It's not happening. That's it. That's the discussion. It's not happening.
Like, no coach right now should rationally want to go to a situation where, all right, you're going to be forced to take Bronny, who's not an NBA player, just to appease his father, who's going to retire anyway after this next year, more than likely. And then you're going to get blamed by all the crazy Lakers fans because you couldn't rebuild the team that's already in shambles.
That's what happens. That's the LeBron effect. LeBron mortgages the future to try to win the championship. And sure, they won the bubble championship, but for what? The Lakers are the one team LeBron wouldn't have to rebuild.
Right.
That he shouldn't have to, tank. But, I mean, shout out to Pat Riley. He kept the Heat relevant somehow after LeBron destroyed him. But Spencer Young says he thinks Bronny is going to go to the United Arab Emirates to play.
That's where he should go. Well, frankly, he should just remain a Twitch streamer. He's much more successful at that than he will be as an NBA player.
Or maybe Brazil. Why not? Brazilian pro basketball is developing.
Yeah, let him learn from Leandro Barbosa. Get him the proper coaching from Leandro Barbosa, and shout out Pacers legend Leandro Barbosa.
The last time I heard from him was his ex-wife bitching about him on social media.
Wait, is that ex-wife the same as Steve Nash's ex-wife?
No, she's Brazilian. Samara Filippo. I don't think it's the same.
I don't know that.
If you don't know about that, just Google search Leandro Barbosa, Steve Nash. You'll see.
It's like a Delonte West situation.
Not exactly. But anyway,
right.
Dan Hurley's not going. He's not going to the Lakers. Stop it. That's the story.
Yeah, he'll stay in Connecticut where he should stay, because he can win as many national titles as he wants in Connecticut. I would say, because right now Connecticut is by far the best program in the country. I mean, they arguably are the best college basketball program of this century so far.
Oh yeah, I mean they've won what 4 championships in the first 24
years? They
years?
have won 6 since 1999.
6? Holy crap!
They've won 90. Let me double check them. They won 99. They won.
Well, I know they won 2014, 2023, and 2024.
Right.
But I hate UConn. I really do.
I there. See, they won 99, 04, 11, 14, 23, 24.
So they have 5 this millennium.
Yeah. The 99 is just technically right before it. So, I don't know why he would leave that.
He won't. That's the story. That's the discussion. So argue with a wall.
So I guess the question is, who will the Lakers get?
So you guys brought up a good, interesting trend, because in football, you see college coaches getting overwhelmed, and if they had a market, they would leave for the NFL in a no beat. But in basketball, maybe is not the same. It's not the same route. It's not the same appeal. Or am I wrong?
The only 2 coaches that I can even think of that went from college to being successful pro coaches are Brad Stevens and Billy Donovan.
Yeah.
Like this century.
Like Rick Barnes wouldn't be good in the NBA.
No.
Matt Payne wouldn't be good in the NBA.
No shot.
Like college.
Bill Self, maybe?
And the thing about, too, in college, you're managing way less players. So, like, it's not
way
like
less ego.
Yeah. So it's not like, because we were talking about this a couple episodes ago, that college football at some point might need general managers to deal with all the players going in and out per year to help out head coaches. And basketball,
I'm surprised more coaches don't have like a specific roster builder on the staff.
I saw a press conference. I don't remember what coach, what school was, but the coach was saying like how he was telling, like, comparing NFL and college football. It's like, imagine if the NFL, all the players were free agents after the season, how crazy it would be. That's college football right now, and I agree with him.
it's insane.
Yeah, it's gonna level out though. We're in the crazy part, like the very beginning, early crazy part. It's gonna eventually die down, and it's going to. Because what's going on is these kids are leaving because these coaches can't promise them bullshit and hold them hostage anymore. I mean, that's really what it comes down to for me. And I think that the portal is going to settle down. Eventually, everything's going to settle down once conference realignment happens, and it'll not be a big deal. But honestly, can you name me another college coach this century that has gone to the NBA and had success outside of Brad Stevens and Billy Donovan?
No.
Because I don't think you can.
No.
And there are so many college coaches that have found at least moderate success in the NFL. And you just can't say that. And to Gus's point, the route is different. And the college game is different. That's the problem. And I think that the college game is different because the quality of the game is a lot lower than the NBA. Think
about two coaches that had success not, I'll say, long ago, like 10 15 years ago, that were good in the 90s, went to the NBA and went back and became Rick Pitino and Calipari. Both did the same route.
I forgot Calipari coached the Knicks, didn't he?
No, he coached the
Celtics,
I think the
right?
Celtics.
No, Pitino coached the Celtics.
Pitino did the Celtics. He did.
No. Calipari did the Nets, I think.
The Nets, yes, the Nets.
That was close. Close enough. For pulling it off the top of my head, I'll take it.
Yeah, only New Jersey people would have been mad about your mistake.
With a $900 million offer, it'd be stupid to turn that down.
Oh, 900. I think he's talking about Bronny James to the UAE.
Okay. There's no way the Lakers.
That's like Saudi soccer.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll go sell myself for $900 million in the UAE. We'll ignore all the problems that exists in that society. But anyway, I do want to say that the Dodgers did win in 11 over the Yankees 2-1. They finally did manage to score some runs with the assist from the added base runners.
I hate that.
But anyway, so there you go. Dodgers win a regular season baseball game. But switching to sports real quick, we have a Stanley Cup final that will start tomorrow night. We have the Panthers and the Oilers. First and foremost, Rangers, man. The President's Cup, it seemed like everything was lining up for them. And
the last President's Cup winner that won the Stanley Cup was the 2013 Chicago Blackhawks. Go Hawks.
And they still have, and they still are. And man, I thought the Rangers were going to break that this year, but they couldn't do it.
I guess New York teams and the Game 7 curse this year was big.
Well, it didn't even go 7. They lost in 6, right?
I feel so bad for all those Knicks fans.
Right.
So horrible.
They couldn't even get a Game 7. They lost in Sunrise, Florida. They lost in the Outlet Mall parking lot.
What is crazy about, like, when you start the season, I don't see anybody like, oh, the Panthers are going to, dominate the playoffs and go to the Stanley Cup Finals. And here we go again. They made it the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean,
because people quit caring because they thought, oh, well, they were just a one-off. They didn't pay attention to how good they actually were. That's not, that's the fault of everybody not paying attention to the Florida Panthers. They're a really good hockey team.
Yeah, despite the fact they play in the equivalent of a Bass Pro Shops. But anyway,
I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Memphis Tigers used to play in a Bass Pro Shops.
True.
No, the Grizzlies played that too, didn't they?
Yeah, initially they did.
They did play at the Pyramid, okay.
Until they built the FedEx for them. So in any case, yeah. But
shout out to the crazy shit that Memphis does.
Yeah. And on the other side, hey, Connor McDavid, Blake in the glass ceiling with Edmonton, getting through being Dallas in 6. And I thought Dallas had a really good shot pulling that one off too. But I think I did pick the Oilers before that series because I felt like that Connor McDavid is going to win one eventually. And now the Oilers could be the first Canadian team in over 30 years to win a Stanley Cup final if they can beat the Panthers. And
I got 2 things to say about this real quick. First of all, this is the hockey equivalent of Peyton Manning finally going to the Super Bowl. After everybody said, oh, Peyton can't win the big one. Secondarily, did you guys see the secessionist movement from the province of Alberta?
No.
They want to secede, and there's a movement to secede from Canada and join the U.S. How funny would it be if the first Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup in 30-odd years, their province secedes and they can't even claim it?
Well,
how hilarious would that be?
Well, they don't exactly like Justin Trudeau in Alberta. Alberta is basically Canada, Texas. So
yeah. Anyway, I think this is the hockey equivalent of Peyton Manning finally going to the Super Bowl.
And I think it'll be like his first time in the Super Bowl too. I think the Oilers will find a way to win this.
Oh yeah,
100%. and
Stanley's
Cup is going home.
But how big is the pressure right now? They have taking the succession aside, carrying an entire hope of a country who breathes and lives for hockey to finally win in this 21st century.
Well, I mean, is the rest of the country really rooting?
No.
Nah,
all the other teams are probably rooting for the Panthers because they don't want the cup to go anywhere but their own city.
Right. Because like Toronto and Vancouver and all these other places.
Especially Calgary. No Calgary fans are rooting for that. That's like me rooting for Kentucky.
Right. It's not like the Raptors.
Yeah. I guess it's a fair comparison, but I think Edmonton finally breaks the curse of the Canadian championship in hockey.
I agree. Give me the Oilers in 6.
Yeah, I would agree. Oilers in 6. And also, I hope they're not taking a bus to this game because it's 2,400 miles between South Florida and
that's like a 7-hour plane ride.
Yeah, rip the media that has to cover this game. That
sucks. And then you got to go through border crossings every time too. That sucks.
I feel bad for the PR of both of those teams because as being a PR of a sports team, you have to travel and deal with players and deal with all the organization. Man, there's gonna be a long 2 weeks.
But I looked it up. There's no direct flights between Miami and Edmonton. You gotta go for Toronto. So,
Really?
Yeah.
You would think they'd charter those though.
I mean, NHL will definitely charter. Now, if you're just a normal fan or a media,
yeah, you either go through Colorado or through Toronto, probably.
yeah. So anyway, that's also I'll be fun. I'll start tomorrow night. Now, some quick football here. Justin Jefferson gets the most expensive contract ever for a wide receiver.
Deservedly so.
Yeah, I mean,
Truly deservedly so. I mean, how the stuff that he had to deal last season, especially.
Yeah, but the problem is for him, who's going to be throwing him the football? I mean, there's Sam Darnold, I guess, this year, but I don't know. He's gonna be a man alone. Let's just say on that Vikings offense for the time being. But hey, he gets his money, so
maybe they'll bring back Dalvin Cook.
Maybe, yeah. And hey, the Falcons with 2 quarterbacks. Maybe they'll send Kirk back. And then get the band back together. Yeah. Also, I don't know, more time enough. Rep Hall of Famer Larry Allen, lineman for the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously sad to see a Hall of Famer go, and it was a part of those Super Bowl teams in the '90s. Big bruising blocker for Emmitt Smith and all those talented players. So shout out to him and the success he had in his career. We already addressed MLB gambling issues. I don't know if you had any thoughts you want to add to that, Gus, about.
There's do you think gambling will be the steroids of this decade?
Probably, yes. Yeah. I mean, it's and that's the thing for me. It's hard for me to really understand gambling addiction, right? Like, I guess for me, I'm addicted to not losing money. So I can't make myself, but for a lot of other people, the thrill of winning is just gonna be too much.
And what is dangerous about athletes being kind of tangled into this addiction is they eventually gonna go into that thought, that really bad, horrible thought of, hey, I can also gamble on myself. I can, especially in soccer, where you can control your bet with yellow cards and red cards or even corner kicks. And then you turn into a really dirty player because of your addiction.
Oh, for sure. And it's just so many problems. It's going to affect every single sport at some point. And MLB definitely is. It's not the first time this has happened for MLB, and it will not be the last time. So we'll see how far this goes, but it's gonna get uglier before it gets worse. And I wonder, it's like opening Pandora's box. Can you put Pandora's box back in? I don't know if you're gonna be able to. All right, some quick racing things here. A wild finishing gateway last week in the St. Louis race. Ron Blaney had the race won, but he ran out of gas at the white flag and gave away the win to his teammate Austin Cindric. I mean, just one of the most brutal ways you can lose a race. How do you not have enough gas, man? You totally miscalculated the amount of gas that you had, and it's just brutal. And now your teammate is in the playoffs now. He has sucked all year, has 2 top 10s. But hey, miracle win, he's now in the playoffs. So anyway, the big real news though is Kyle Larson has gotten his playoff waiver. He's back in the playoff.
Rightfully so.
Because that would have killed the double.
It wouldn't have killed the double. It would have killed NASCAR's popularity.
Oh, though. Yeah. It would have been extremely, extremely unpopular. NASCAR, their hands tied. It was funny because Jim France and some of the other high executives of NASCAR were basically butthurt that Kyle Larson chose Indy over Charlotte. But look, even as someone who is a bigger NASCAR than IndyCar fan, I have to acknowledge that the Indy 500 is a much bigger race than the Coke 600. If you're going to allow a driver to run both races in the same day, you have to know that weather is a possibility. And that was just the case that day. hopefully next year, if Kyle Larson tries this again, we will have a perfect weather day across the eastern seaboard. Unfortunately, this year it was a tornado outbreak, so we couldn't control that.
I mean, he showed up to run the race. It's not his fault that the weather wouldn't subside.
Exactly. And he would have put on a show. And that's the thing, they're arguably, we had 100,000 people show up to Charlotte expecting to see Kyle Larson race. But like everyone was watching that race towards the end because we knew Kyle Larson was coming. And like we were excited to see, okay, if he has to jump in the car, what could he do in the last 150 laps? Right. But we didn't get to see that because of the rain. And honestly, his backup driver, Justin Allgaier, was like almost in the top 10. Kyle Larson probably would have won that race if he had gone a full 600 miles. So, in any case,
and it's not the first time that a driver has pissed off everybody for choosing the Indy 500 over their other big race. Fernando Alonso never heard the end of skipping Monaco, the parade that is Monaco,
right,
for the Indy 500, and he did it like 3 years in a row. So, whatever. The Indy 500 is the most popular motor race in the world. Period. End of discussion.
Exactly. And
you don't see other leagues going to Charlotte or going to Monaco or wherever to run their races.
And because of your stupid playoff system, you have made each one of your individual races more relevant in terms of the championship. Kyle Larson already has 3 wins. And even without that race in the regular season's point standings, he's still second, even with missing a race. So he still could win this regular season championship anyway and get those extra 15 points.
The whole playoff system is stupid to begin with.
It is stupid. As I said, I acknowledge the old school Winston Cup system is what I acknowledge. And thank God there are people that actually do that. And Kyle Larson, actually, after that one race he missed, fell all the way to 10th. So that would, if this were like a full season Winston Cup, then yeah, he probably would have just thrown away the championship by doing that. So
yeah, but you play the system. You can only play what's in front of you, and
right.
And NASCAR's own stupidity has made it more of a joke than it already was.
Right. If this were 15 years ago, I think Larson would have flown back to Charlotte.
Oh yeah.
So, but anyway. But NASCAR has
15 years ago would have been like 2011.
Okay, 20 years. Well, I'm trying to. What year is this? 2024.
Oh,
25 years ago. 25 years ago, when they still had the Winston, Kyle Larson flies back to Charlotte because it's 20 years ago that we started the chase for the Cup in 2004. So
the chase was stupid.
Yeah. Also, the other Kyle Busch. He crashed himself at Gateway. Actually, got into Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson still finished third in that race. Kyle Busch DNF'd. And then crashed again in testing this week. And this is after the fight he got into at North Wilkesboro. And he's just been on a really, really bad
He's
run.
Down bad.
He's washed. The question is he washed? I think he is washed. He is now reaching that age because he's been racing himself for 20 years. His rookie year was 2005. And now he's on an RCR team that sucks. I mean, his teammate, Austin Dillon, is 32nd in points. He is behind literal back markers. I mean, Austin Dillon right now is a back marker for Richard Childress Racing.
And people were trying to say that Kyle Busch was deserving of the number 3.
Well, I mean, he's more deserving of it than Austin Dillon.
Well, yeah, but that's, again, not setting the bar
right high. So it's sad to see a legend go fade off, but it happens to every driver.
Is it that sad?
It happens to every driver, though. So
Father Time's undefeated.
He is. I mean, Jimmy Johnson didn't win a race for the last 4 years he was in. So that's all I have to say on that. But they are at Sonoma this week. Thank God it's the last Fox race. Fox is just stuck at broadcasting races. NBC, so much better at broadcasting races. And actually get Lee Diffie starting after the Olympic break, which I'm excited for because every time he calls the Indy 500, that guy is just insane and incredible. Although I heard a rumor that Fox actually might be taking over IndyCar next year, which
that'd be terrible.
NBC does such a good job with Indy. Like the NBC now does a much better job than ABC did back in the day.
100%. NBC is the best broadcaster in America for racing.
Right, and I don't know who they would put. I mean, honestly, it'd be kind of cool to give
Mike Tirico.
I mean, it would be cool to give Mike Joy a run at the 500 just once. Because he's got to do like all the other main American races. And for him to do Indianapolis 500 once and he retires would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder who you'd put with him commentary-wise. But anyway, I'm going Martin Truex Jr. to win Sonoma. in any case, that's
I'm not even going to make a pick. I don't watch NASCAR enough. Sorry.
right. And also IndyCar. Tell me what happened in Detroit.
I haven't watched the race yet. I don't know.
Yeah, so I didn't really see it either. So I don't have anything really.
I had
to
a
say.
migraine Sunday, so I slept through it.
Absolutely, but we have some.
I keep forgetting to watch it though. I really need to go and watch the race.
Right.
I've been trying to hide the results from myself for weeks.
Well, I don't know what the results were, so you're good on spoilers from me. Anyway, so moving over into some soccer here, and the Columbus Crew, man.
LOL.
Well, MLS continuing
Oh my
to
God.
put themselves on the big stage.
Last Saturday night was a bad night to be in black and yellow playing soccer. I'll tell you.
Oh my God. I watched that game and Jesus Christ. It felt like under 20 versus pro. That's what I felt to me. Like Pachuca totally control possession. They they were an attack anytime they wanted. 4-0 was still a result like, it could have been 5, 6, 7. Like it really was a bad night not only for Columbus Crew but for the Major League Soccer. That was humiliating.
It's
that
always
was
a bad night to be Major League Soccer, though.
no, but I think last Saturday night was even worse because
I agree with you guys. I just hate MLS.
no, and to your point, I feel like Major League Soccer wanted to show to the world. It's like, hey, we are improving. We wanna, break the barrier. Win a major tournament outside of North America, outside of U.S. and Canada. We wanna go toe to toe with Mexico, and they can't. They just can't because of all the reasons you gave, of all the bureaucracy and all the shenanigans they do that made, even though it was a great run by the Columbus Crew, they had really true, like for example in the eliminate Monterrey, but went to the finals and you were humiliated. That must, it was a bad night for Major League Soccer.
I agree. It was a bad night to be wearing black and yellow playing soccer, too, because also on Saturday night, Indy 11 went to Pittsburgh on my birthday and got the win for me. That was so much fun. And speaking of Indy 11, guys, my club in the quarterfinals of the Open Cup.
I was gonna ask you, Jason, is Tuesday night the biggest night in Indy 11 history?
Yes. I say that because we lost to the New York Cosmos, F the Cosmos, in 2016. And so now, yes, this is the opportunity. Every Open Cup game now is starting to feel that way. And getting past Detroit in a convincing fashion to get to the quarterfinal, it's incredible. And now I made the joke that, of course, watch, we're going to go and play this MLS team and they're going to put us at Kennesaw State. And they did. I'm so mad. I wanted to go to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium and watch a game there and sing there. But no, I had to go to friggin' Kennesaw State.
Ridiculous.
That's MLS bullshit. That's all it is.
I mean, the MLS, have there been like any good nights for the MLS? Like, I mean, it seems like the MLS every single turn. I mean, I think that like when you're talking about like the WNBA like rising, I think the MLS's stock is falling.
I mean, we repeatedly gave MLS rope, then they hung us all with it. Pretty much.
And once the Messi hype, once the Miami hype with Messi and Suarez, they're eventually gonna retire, then because MLS is really grabbing into Messi and Suarez, but eventually they're gonna retire and not be playing anymore. And then what else MLS has?
I mean, at the end of the day, like
Marco Royce.
It doesn't change the perception that MLS is a retirement home.
No, I mean Ezequiel Barco coming from River Plate to Atlanta United, I thought might be a turning point. And then he realized the MLS was a joke and went back to River Plate. So The only success story to ever come out of MLS is that guy who ended up on Newcastle, also from Atlanta United.
Miguel Almiron, great player. Watch him play
Yeah,
in
Almiron.
2017.
Yeah, he's
And
the
one,
only success story from MLS. Well, I take that back. As far as playing abroad, George Petrovic too from Chelsea, pretty solid. But that's a very barren landscape when it comes to how much talent you are supposed to have. Because all the best American players still just go and play their youth abroad. Pulisic being the prime example.
Right. I'm at least glad we're at a point now where the U.S. men's team is not mostly MLS players anymore, which is a good sign.
yeah. And speaking of U.S. men's, they're gonna play this weekend. Brazil too. Brazil's going to Dallas to play Mexico. Literally, I feel like a road game. Brazil's gonna be 2 road games because Mexico playing Dallas is literally road game. There's
I
gonna
hope
be
they're ready to be called racial slurs by El Tree.
Yeah.
no.
But don't
Oh, yeah,
but don't think it's anything against the Brazilians though, because the US plays road games against Mexico in the US. So
No, yeah, no, I know. There'll be Brazilians, but the majority will be Mexico. But Mexican there. But I'm curious about the Wednesday game, Brazil and US. Like I'm curious because last time they played, Brazil beat 2-0, I believe, in New York. It was like back in 2018, I believe. They might have played.
they played at the Meadowlands, I believe.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, that was the game I was. Yeah, in New York. It was the first game Brazil played after the 2018 World Cup, and a lot of the teams definitely changed a lot since then.
Of course.
But I'm just curious about why US should go for this game, because probably for the 2026 World Cup, that's the kind of teams they're gonna have to beat to make further.
I mean, what are the rosters even going to look like for this game? Like, is this going to be like
Yeah.
our full roster?
Brazil is gonna practically have their best roster. I mean, of course, when you don't have Neymar, you don't have your best 11. But
But
overall,
would these not be being used as tune-ups for the U23s for the Olympics? Or are these going to be used for Copa America? I forgot.
yeah,
US is in that.
Copa America, because
I
Brazil
forgot
is not.
that the US was in that now. So,
All right, so here's the.
Yeah, they're host.
See, I'm going to share what our roster looks like.
I'm trying to find what Brazil roster might be on Saturday, so I also gonna know.
Yeah.
A
So
little
I have
bit.
that. So I would imagine Matt Turner going to be our goalkeeper.
yeah, Matt Turner is the best. There, Ethan Horvath has done very well at Cardiff, though, and Sean Johnson, he's a longtime vet. He'll be solid in there as well. The names that I'm looking at, though, especially on these defenders, Cameron Carter-Vickers, former Spurs player, now at the Scottish Premier League champion Celtic, has had a very good year this year. Tim Ream, again, also very good year this year. Chris Richards at Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace was loaded this year, and still, because of Roy Hodgson, managed to be crap. They have the most represented Premier League team on the English roster for the Euros this year, and they managed to finish bottom half of the table.
How did that guy get another job after losing to Iceland in 2018?
I don't know. But the names that I'm looking at here, like I said, Tim Ream, he's going to be he's a great captain, great leader at Fulham. You've got Weston McKennie. Obviously, that's a big name at Juventus, but I think the big name here is Yunus Musa. He has taken a big jump, and he's had a pretty good season. And then when you look at the forwards, you don't have a whole lot of star power up there. You got Pulisic, but I think that Florian Balogun and Haji Wright and Christian Pulisic are going to be the front three. If I had to take a guess, I really like Haji Wright, and he has done pretty well. But, I mean, look at all of these teams. Coventry City in England. Juventus in Italy.
No MLS teams.
You have one MLS player, Timothy Tillman from Los Angeles FC, and then you have Miles
FC.
Robinson from FC Cincinnati, Shaq Moore from Nashville, and you got Sean Johnson from Toronto. Goalies I wouldn't really count, but I'm very, very happy that the U.S. is getting away from MLS players, because the MLS is not a league that is
world class.
It's not adequately equipped to prepare for these sides that you'll see in Brazil and Argentina and even Chile and Colombia, even and Uruguay. Even the second tier teams in South America are just far and away above that in terms of quality that they can bring. Like I said, Brazil and Argentina are 1 and 2, but you got Uruguay, Chile,
Colombia, which is going to be Saturday's opponent, and they're doing really well in the qualifying. So they're and it's funny.
Colombia is solid. They've had a lot of really good players. They had Radamel Falcao, James Rodriguez.
Oh, Rames Rodriguez. The Sao Paulo fans, they are like, how can he be so good at the national team but be so lazy and so apathetic at Sao Paulo? Like last year,
it's like Memo Ochoa. He comes out every 4 years and just appears out of nowhere, does awesome, and goes back into obscurity.
Yeah, like, but James Rodriguez, like, he played for Real Madrid. Like, he had Porto. He had when he came to Sao Paulo last season. The fans were ecstatic. They invade the airport. They were like, we got a international superstar, and now he's like Sao Paulo had like 4 coaches in between. Like the James came, no coach put him on the starting lineup, and like you have to wonder like how much lazy he is, because then he is a starting lineup for Colombia.
For me, I think he is a victim of his own run of form in 2014, because everybody says class is permanent, form is temporary. He is the case in point of that. He had a brilliant 2014 World Cup, won himself the move to Real Madrid, and then everybody realized, this guy's not actually very good. He kind of sucks. And sure, he had a great run of form, but form is temporary, class is forever, and he is not class.
Probably he was the last player that got himself a good contract out of a good World Cup, because nowadays, of course, you want to do good in World Cup, and represent your country, but no big team in Europe. The big, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Inter Milan, and Bayern Munich. They're gonna think twice about signing a player who did a good World Cup, but in terms of club wise, he's not doing well. Like, because of the James Rodriguez example.
Yeah, and I think for me, Gus, I wouldn't say he's the last one. Maybe he's the last one to get a big time move from like a South American side. But for me, the last player to get a nice, the last great, I think the last player to get a big time move out of the World Cup was actually from this last World Cup. I think it was Nicholas Füllkrug, because he was playing at Borussia Mönchengladbach, had an excellent World Cup for Germany after a couple of injuries took out some of their other players, and he was like 30. He came out at a great World Cup, and he's at Borussia Dortmund and was starting in the Champions League final. And I think that there is still plenty of room for those types of moves. But I think these players, especially, you're seeing it with Endrick, you're seeing it with, Andre Santos, you're seeing it with Esteval Willian. These kids are like 16 getting big time moves before they ever even play in the World Cup. And because that's the difference.
That's the Vinicius Junior effect. I call this the Vinicius Junior effect, because Real Madrid, when he got him at the same age, like he was 18, everybody, even the Brazilian media, mocked Real Madrid. It was like, what the hell Real Madrid is doing? Getting this guy at such a young age. He's like a question mark. That how good can he be? And now he's the star of Real Madrid. For me, he's the best player in the world right now. Even if FIFA says otherwise, he should win the Ballon d'Or. And teams are trying to duplicate that with Endrick, with Stevan, with Andre. You know, right
Esteval
now,
Willian for Chelsea
yeah,
as well.
Estevan, who is really
Kendry
playing.
Baez from Chelsea.
Yeah, and Estevão and Palmeiras is playing, at the same level, even better right now than Hendrick. I'm not saying he's, overall better, but he's had a better phase. But what European teams are doing is that, like, they cannot afford to lose a 17, 18-year-old wonder kid to another big team in Europe. They just can't. They just
And they also can't afford to wait for that player to have the big breakout in the World Cup, like what happened with Neymar. When
yeah.
Neymar had his breakout at the World Cup, his price shot through the roof for Santos.
Yeah. And then he got the move to Barcelona. And, of course, there was some controversy about how early the deal was done and stuff. But yeah, like you cannot, like, for big time European teams, the move is to find the earlier the better to develop him, and you don't have to spend millions in the transfer market because, when you get those players young age, you spend millions, but not as much as you would trying to get a superstar from one big team out
Yeah.
of the other. Like
Well,
right
I
now,
mean, you're getting to that point though. The Esteval Willian deal is about 65 million pounds. The Endrick deal was like 70 million euros.
yeah.
It's big money still.
No, yes, big money, but it's not like, for example, in the 2009-10, where Real Madrid won a spending tree and got Cristiano Ronaldo, Kaká, Ozil,
Ricardo
Chelsea,
Kaká, that is a name that I
Chelsea,
haven't heard in a while.
That's a name I don't think I've ever heard
Chelsea
Do your
earlier.
homework. Get out of this. Get out of this room.
of.
I'm kicking you out of your own
This
room.
is
Do
my
your homework.
room.
Do your homework on Ricardo Kaká. Don't you be disrespecting Kaká
Yeah.
ever. Put
The
some
last-
respect on his name.
Incredibly, the last Brazilian player to win a Ballon d'Or, and that was 2007. Like, I still can't believe that it's it's gonna be 15 years and not a single Brazilian player won best player in the world. And we had Neymar and now Vinny Jr. Like, it still baffles me.
Vinny Jr. is going to win one. He will.
Yes. Yeah. No.
But then
for
again,
me-
we said that about Neymar also. So
Hey, he's got 2 Champions Leagues now, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but speaking of Brazil and Vini Jr., he is apparently not in the lineup. Dorival Jr. Is probably gonna rest some players. He's not gonna use Vini Jr. or Rodrigo. That, especially of course because they only showed up on Wednesday after winning the Champions League. That's why they're being preserved, and they are kept in rest. But overall, good team. Alisson from Liverpool, Ian Couto, Eder Militão, Bremer, Guilherme Arana, Ederson, Douglas Luiz, and Andreas Pereira, Savinho, Martinelli from Arsenal, and Evanilson. Yeah, it's a good lineup.
it's a good lineup. Yeah.
Good lineup, of course. A lot of names. It's so funny. Like, if you go to the a big city in Brazil and ask a soccer fan about some of these names, they will be like, "What? Who?" Probably out of these names, the average Brazilian fan will know Alisson, Andreas Pereira because of what he did at Flamengo in Libertadores final, the trip, the blunder. I don't know if you guys ever saw that. That was one of the most ridiculous things I ever saw in a big sporting event final. And maybe Guilherme Arana because he was very good at Atlético Mineiro. But the other players, people who don't know about it.
Put some respect on Bremer's name.
No, I'm not saying he's better or good, but the average Brazilian soccer fan here in Brazil.
This is my message to your Brazilian counterparts. Please respect Bremer. He is awesome. That dude is one of the best defenders I've ever seen.
No, yeah, he's talented. I'm not saying he's not talented, but he left Brazil so early, and because of what we told earlier about the effect. Like, he he left Brazil with probably like 19, 20 years old, and nobody remember him at Atlético Mineiro. Like, he probably played so little there that he went to Italy that Brazilian fans don't have a connection with him. But he is a great player and deserves to be at the Brazilian national team. And I'll say he's not deserved to be. It's just this kind of effect that we talked about Hendrick and Stevo and Andre. Of course, they are more known because they are strikers and they're playing the first team, but other players are not as much. And speaking of stars, I'm just seeing right now the party that Fluminense threw for Thiago Silva. Maracanã was
Oh, that was
full.
awesome.
Maracanã was full. 40,000 fans showed up. There was a music concert. Fans
Nothing
celebrating
but
like
love for my goat, Thiago Silva.
yeah. No, actually, let me correct myself. 55,000 fans at Maracanã show up for his reception, and you can see that he was happy, celebrating. Along with another great player, Marcelo, that he played in Europe, and
Wait, is Marcelo back as well?
yeah, he was back last year, and he was
I
a
did
key
not know that.
player.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that for them.
he was a key player for the Libertadores win back last year. And but it's interesting that Fluminense is very old team. They have a lot of players above 30 years old. Fabio, the goalkeeper, Marcelo, Thiago Silva, Ganso, Cano. There's a lot of old players, and it's so funny that
Yeah, they
Fernando.
call MLS the retirement home.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, Fluminense more so than other teams. Like Flamengo, for example, is not doing that move. But it's interesting that Fluminense has a coach whose style is very possession, very intense, and that's why they are not doing so good right now. Their fans are not. I mean, they're happy Thiago Silva is back, but it's not much happy with the results on the field, even though they are in the Libertadores playoffs. But in the Brazilian national championship, they're not doing as good. They're only 15th place, only 1 point ahead at the relegation zone. But hopefully the Thiago Silva effect will bring some hope and excitement back for Fluminense, and definitely the fans are happy to see. And I can't imagine what he's feeling right now because he was part of the 2008 Fluminense, which was one of the best soccer teams I've ever saw. With so like Dodô, Thiago. You probably guys don't know about those players I'm mentioning, but for me, they were the best. Like Dodô, Thiago Neves, Washington, Conca, Thiago Silva. They were really good team, but they came close to win the Libertadores back in 2008, losing the final at Maracanã. That's why last year's win for Fluminense felt good because it was at Maracanã, and they felt like finally they won the title they should have won back in '08. But I'm happy Thiago Silva came back. I'm really happy he's back at home, and I think he has still some soccer left. I think he's going to be one of the main players in this Brazilian season.
Oh, hell yeah, he is. He was playing at a very high level in the Premier League with Chelsea. He's still got at least a season or two remaining at the highest level, and then I think he's going to go straight into coaching. And he has talked about he wants to be coaching at Chelsea one day. I would love to have him back.
Unfortunately, though, like when he retires, one of the things that people remember the most is his 2014 World Cup not performance, but his like lack of
but
leadership.
Everybody was bad. Nobody led on that day. That's how you lose 7-1.
No, but Thiago Silva was a interesting figure because he wasn't the 7-1 game. He was suspended, but in the round of 32, the round of 32 when Brazil went to penalties against Chile, there was a scene that everybody kind of picked on him, that he was crying after the game and people saw him as weak and he couldn't be a leader, he shouldn't be the captain, and a lot of people kind of went went on him really hard about like he should have been crying, he should be tougher, he's the captain. And I feel like the media back then was very like cruel to him about like he was just showing emotion at a really high stakes game. Brazil hosting a World Cup, every game felt pressure. And I think, unfortunately, hopefully, his legacy will be more defined about his success in Europe than the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. That's what I. But it was really amazing to see the party that Fluminense threw at him. Truly deserved. Hopefully, he'll do a good season from Fluminense because Fluminense needs it. Because if I now, I guess I can switch totally to Brazilian soccer because Libertadores playoffs is already set, and Fluminense right now doesn't still know who they're playing because their group is being defined. Because it was the group that had Grêmio, and Grêmio, was recovering from the floods in Rio Grande do Sul, but they got a great win on Tuesday. They advanced, but Grêmio is gonna play on today tonight on Saturday to see if they're gonna be first place or second place. If they're first place, they're gonna play Penharol. But if they're second, they're playing Fluminense that we just talked about. If that matchup happens, it's gonna be a really great matchup. Like Fernando Diniz versus Renato Gaúcho, two really good coaches, both won Libertadores. You know, but the big matchup for this Libertadores playoffs for me is Botafogo and Palmeiras because I don't know if you guys remember last season, Botafogo Palmeiras game at the Brazilian Championship. It was that crazy game that Botafogo went 3-0 at halftime, and Palmeiras came back to win 4-3. And
Yes.
that game made Botafogo fell apart from first place to fifth place and made Palmeiras, went back to the racing title and won the title. So Botafogo and Palmeiras still have that game in memory, and Botafogo CEO John Textor is still bitching about this game, pulling some investigation about uh, cheating and stuff. So it's gonna be a lot of like kind of heat arguments and heat comments between Botafogo and Palmeiras. Front
So it should be very toxic.
very toxic. It's going to be a very toxic game matchup, especially on and off the field. Botafogo Palmeiras is going to be a very heated and toxic matchup. I cannot wait to see that matchup. Flamengo got really lucky because they were second place in their group, but in the drawing they got Bolivar, which the team they annihilated in the group stage in the last game. So Flamengo, no problem. São Paulo Nacional is I can say it's an even matchup, but I see São Paulo play a little bit better as a favorite. Atlético Mineiro as well might have some trouble, but I think they can pass San Lorenzo. So I think Brazilian teams overall probably all are gonna pass, but one or two might be eliminated because of the Brazilian matchups. Botafogo, Palmeiras, and let's see if Grêmio faces Fluminense or not. Another topic that is very sensitive. Corinthians is unfortunately Corinthians is not. Oh, fun fact: Brazil is training today at College Station at the Texas A&M Stadium. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, it's interesting, and they got to train somewhere. So
Yeah, interesting. That they even closed the stadium. Nobody, the students weren't allowed to go in because of the training. But back to Corinthians. Corinthians right now is not being much at the sports page, but they're more in the police page because there is an investigation. There was some corruption involving Corinthians deal with their new big sponsor, Vaidabet, gambling website that Corinthians had to pay a third party consultant company in order to close the deal. This payment was outsourced to another company. So there's very shady deals. And today the gambling company pull out of the sponsorship. They're not Corinthians sponsor anymore. So Corinthians right now already lost big players, Castro and Paulinho. So things looking tough right now for the black and white in Itaquera.
So
So not
they're the Georgia of Brazil right now.
Oh my god, yeah, they're definitely not doing good. Speaking of Itaquera, the NFL set the prices for the Philadelphia Eagles versus
Green Bay
Green
Packers.
Bay Packers on September 6th. So for Brazilian fans, this are not going to be a cheap event. The cheapest ticket in reais, of course, is 570 reais full ticket. And in Brazil, we have a law that students, retirees, and like other other like and other
Right.
people can qualify for half price. It's a national law. So
So
full
it's like
price,
$100 roughly in American dollars, which honestly isn't that bad for a week one regular season game between Eagles Packers. That's actually a
yeah,
great price for Eagles Packers.
yeah. So $570, 570 reais, and if you are a student or a retiree or this with disabilities, you pay 285 reais, and the most expensive ticket is 2,520 reais. I mean, the stadium's going to be full. I mean, I bet there's going to be 40,000 NFL fans in Itaquera. But for example, my friend that joined my colleague in Rio Branco, Eagles fan, he's like, I just can't go to the game because I want to go with my wife and I had to pay parking and gas, and this will eat up probably 70% of his monthly salary. That's
And like, what
unfortunate.
is the for those that aren't familiar? Like, what is the average income in Brazil?
So the monthly minimum wage right now in Brazil is 1,420 reais. So basically, two tickets would be, I'll say one ticket is almost a third of the monthly minimum wage in Brazil. So, in I mean, it's pricey, but it's something that a lot of people knew about it. Right now, it's only being on a pre-sale kind of thing. Like you, is a partnership between, I guess, the NFL and Visa. They can only buy with that Visa, some sort of a Visa XP credit card. But on June 13th, there'll be a general sale. I would imagine it's gonna the cheapest, the 500, the 900 reais tickets are gonna be sold really fast. So I imagine only the 1,900 to the 2,000 reais tickets are going to be left for until like September. But yeah, it's a expensive event, but I would make the sacrifice. It's a one of a kind thing, like the NFL in Brazil. Like, can it get any better?
Oh, for sure, and it just goes to show too how the economic burden too of these prices. I mean, I'm looking at this from an American standpoint. 2,000 real or 2,500 reais is about $400. So you know,
Yeah. For America, it's a good deal. Like, it's not an expensive ticket. You get to visit another country. I know. I don't know. It's if I was an American, but unfortunately, because of Lula, uh, uh, Americans would have to get a visa to get to Brazil. I think 4 years ago they didn't need to, but now they need.
right?
But
Because Bolsonaro loved America, so
yes, yes. And last but not least, my beloved Rio Branco played their last preseason game today, won 1-0 in Piracicaba. Great performance. I think the team is doing really good, but yeah, it's still preseason. The season restarts actually. It's a new tournament. It's the Paulista Cup next Saturday against Primavera at home in
absolutely. Vamos
Americana.
Tigre.
Vamos, Tigre!
Absolutely.
Yep.
But I think that is all the time that we have tonight for.
It was a lot of time, to be fair.
Oh yes, that is a long. This may be our longest episode ever. I don't know. I have to go back through the archives.
We had some 2 hour 45 to 3 hours, but amazingly, all of those long that I remember, Jason Warwick was in it. when Jason is in our pod, we go longer because he's a
I'm-
great guy to be on.
I'm sorry, I'm ruining it.
No, you're the opposite. You're
ramble. I'm sorry.
no.
It's a
That's
podcast.
the
whole point.
podcast. That's the whole point.
We can't do this on television. You can't do this on commercial radio, but you can.
That's
do
what
it
we have here.
on a podcast. It's uncensored, unfiltered. We're not bought or paid by anyone because it's just us. Although if
Let's
someone wants
go.
to buy or pay us, you can.
Yeah, somebody sponsor
Yeah,
us.
please. I will take anyone's money and I'll say whatever you want. But in any case, for Gus Tomazeli and Americana Pala Brazil, this is Jason Warwick, and I'm Nick Hill from Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States. Thank you so much for watching the only Brazilian American sports podcast here on this June the 7th, 2024. Y'all have a fantastic